Hello everybody, how are we all doing? Welcome. In today's video we're going to look at the new Necron Index, which Games Workshop dropped last week. I've waited to do this video until we could get some points, because I also wanted to do a video with some army lists as well. So that army list video is going to be coming after this one. Might be the next day, so if you're watching this a little bit later than the day of release, then it will already be out. But this one we're going to look at all the way through. We're going to go through the index. We're going to have a look at some cool stuff that's in there, and yeah, just give you my thoughts and review on the Necrons. Now, I've been playing Necrons for a long time. I've played them at tournaments. I've got tournament trophies behind. You can't quite see which way have I got to go. There we go. We've got tournament trophies behind me here from playing Necrons. I absolutely love them. I do some crazy lists as well. So I took one list in 8th edition just to make Centipedes fun. But this is 10th edition now. We're going to have a look at all the rules that we've got, starting with the army rule. Now, the army rule, I actually quite like the army rule. The army rule I am very excited about, because it synergizes a lot with a lot of other rules within the index, which we will find out. So if you have a look here, so in your command phase, then you can activate your reanimation protocols. If you do so, then you get D3 wounds back. You can then allocate those wounds to recover models in the unit. So if you've got single wound models, then they'll just bring D3 models back. If you've got multiple wound models, then you'll bring back models that fill out the wounds that you've just reanimated. And there are some really interesting ways in which you can manipulate this, do it more times in a turn, which we will get to later on. And then the detachment rule, which is actually one that you need to remember, because there's some interesting things in here where you don't have to include a model in particular, because he already gives it. Like there's a few little nuances to this. So this particular detachment rule, the Awakened Dynasty, when we get our codex, I think they're getting 6 detachment rules. So this one will be a detachment rule that you'll be able to swap out. Maybe they'll do a Destroyer Cult Dynasty. Maybe they'll do a I don't know, but all sorts of different dynasties which we have. But this one in particular, we add one to the hit roll, any hit roll that we're making with that unit once it's being led by a Necron character, which is also interesting, because if we get to when we get to the enhancements, that makes it really interesting as well. So remember that one. So remember +1 to hit if you're led by a Necron character, and also remember this reanimation. It gets really interesting when we start stacking things up. So next ones, we've got the Stratagems. Protocol of the Eternal Guardian. Necron infantry character, so you are selecting a character when he's just been destroyed. Basically, it's just reanimation for a character, which is absolutely brilliant. You can set him up on the battlefield as close as possible to where he was destroyed, and he has half wounds remaining. So if you start with 5 wounds, you will come back with 3 wounds, because they've said in the commentary a couple of days ago, modifiers always round up. So you're going to come back with 3 wounds if you start with 5, half it rounding up, and you can only do it once. And set your model back on the battlefield as close as possible to where it is destroyed. When any phase, so it comes back straight away as well. You don't have to wait until the end of the phase, which is really cool. You don't have to kind of worry, but you've got to be careful about where you're placing it so that you can't be hit again. That's one thing. And Protocol of the Hungering Void. So in the fight phase, we are getting +1 strength, and in addition, if a character is leading the unit, remember, if we're leading the unit, we're also getting +1 to hit as well. So we're now getting +1 to hit, +1 strength, and if a character is leading the unit, we're getting +1 armor penetration as well, which is really cool. So that's lots of little pluses there. Armor penetration dropping down in the game means that this is particularly interesting. Very cool. Great stratagem to have. Really cool for Scorp destroyers, for instance. Leash Guard are going to be fantastic with this. Yeah, that's going to be fun. Protocol of the Conquering Tyrant. This is in your shooting phase, and just before just before you shoot with that unit, you're going to put this stratagem on the unit. It is only 1 command point, which is amazing. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets a unit within half range, you can re-roll the wounds. Now, if a Necron character is leading the unit, you can do it at full range. Again, if a Necron character is leading the unit. Now, remember, if a Necron character counts as leading the unit, then you're also getting +1 to hit. So we're now getting +1 to hit and re-rolling wounds. Very, very cool. At full range, half range if there's no character in there, but we'll get to that. Protocol of the Undying Legions. This is so good. I'm so excited for all this. So good. Protocol of the Undying Legions. This is where reanimation starts getting really, really interesting. So in your shooting phase, in your opponent's shooting phase, or the fight phase, just after they've finished shooting or attacking, just after they've finished resolving their attacks, you can activate this stratagem, and it basically activates reanimation for that unit. So they get D3 wounds back. Now, if the unit is led by a character, you're getting D3 +1. So again, really, really cool if you've got a character leading your units. You can see what Games Workshop is doing here. They really want characters in your Necron units. Really, really cool. Protocol of the Sudden Storm. This is in your movement phase, and 1 Necron unit from your army. You can, until the end of the turn, ranged weapons equipped by your models in the unit have assault, and then in addition, if it's led by a character, you can re-roll the advance. Now this is really cool for mission play in particular, because there's lots of actions which you'll be doing in the missions where to be able to do the action you need to be eligible to shoot. And if it's a action which you need to be able to do and you need to kind of advance this a little bit far away and you need to be able to advance to get there, you can play this stratagem on the unit. They count as having assault weapons. You can also, if there's a character in there, you can also re-roll that advance if you don't quite get there. And then because they've got assault weapons, you are then eligible to shoot. Therefore, you are eligible to do that action. So this is really, really good mission play stratagem. Very, very cool. Protocol of the Vengeful Stars. Now, this is one of my favourite ones. 1 Necron unit from your army that has had 1 or more models destroyed as a result of an attacking unit. Now, this is one that you play in your opponent's shooting phase. And as soon as you lose a model, you can play this stratagem and your unit can shoot as if it was their shooting phase, but you must target the enemy unit that just shot you. However, if a Necron character is leading the unit till the end of the phase, range weapons ignore cover. Now this is one of the only ways we can ignore cover in the index. There's a couple of other ones, but this is one of the only ones, and this is a consistent one as well because it's a stratagem. So you'll be able to really take advantage of this. This is particularly good on things like Immortals or Warriors. I can't think of anything in particular. The destroyers, it's quite good again. It's quite good with a big unit of destroyers, just regular destroyers, not the heavy destroyers, because the characteristic is you've got to lose a model. Heavy destroyers only really come in units of 3, so if you've lost a model, you're only going to be shooting back with 2. Heavy destroyers, normal destroyers, you can have units of 6. So if you lose a model, you'll be down to maybe 5. That's quite interesting. And then, depending on the unit, you can get some extra buffs on that unit as well. So Immortals are really, really good with this. Warriors, obviously, very, very good because you get lots of shots. And obviously, the ignores cover effectively gives an extra armor penetration to the weapon that you are shooting, because it's so easy to get a cover in this edition. So enhancements. Veil of Darkness. Now, some of you will know this model, but here is my Veil of Darkness model. That's my, we'll get him focused in for you. There you go. That's my Veil of Darkness model. He's rather famous. He earned me my first Golden Demon finalist pin when I came back into the hobby. Veil of Darkness I absolutely love. And it's back. It does exactly the same as it used to do. However, the timing has changed a little bit. So what you do now is once per battle at the end of your opponent's turn. So you have to kind of plan ahead. So while your opponent's doing their turn, moving, doing all their combat and everything, you want to be thinking and planning your next turn ahead. at the end of their turn, you pick up one of your units, and then in your subsequent turn, in the movement phase, you can then drop that down in the reinforcement step, 9 inches away, obviously. So really, really good. The one thing that has changed in here is that you can't do if it's in engagement range. So no longer will you be able to pick up your big unit of Necron warriors from combat and Veil of Darkness from somewhere else and stop them being tagged, sort of thing. So very, very good for mission play if you really need to. The Hypermaterial Ablator, Necron warriors, Necron models only. While the bearer is leading a unit, so it has to be a leader, pretty much. Models in that unit have the stealth ability. Oh my god, that's so good. In addition, which I think that is my least favourite 2 words in Warhammer 40,000. However, when it's applying to Necron rules, I don't mind it. It's absolutely great. Historically, Necrons have had very, very few in addition rules. Now, in addition, each time a range attack targets the bearer, if the attacker is not within 12 inches, we have cover. So we've got the benefit of cover, and we also have stealth. So stealth is -1, and then if you're not within 12 inches, we're getting a save as well, which is great. Very, very cool. Great to put on a character which is leading a big unit of warriors. As you will see, there's so many different kind of avenues which you can take Necron warriors. Very, very cool. The Sovereign Coronal. This is probably my favourite enhancement in the Codex, in the Index, sorry. This is my favourite one in the book. I can't wait to get these cards so that I can have them in my hand and kind of flick through them. But it's a Necron model only. When a friendly Necron unit is within 6 inches of the bearer, that unit counts as being led by a Necron character model. And then in the designer's note here, it says it counts as being led by a Necron character model. So if we zoom up here and have a look at the Vengeful Stars, or the Sudden Storm, the Vengeful Stars, then in addition, if the Necron character is leading your unit until the end of the phase, then it ignores cover. So if you have a leader with that nearby a unit which isn't being led by anything, the unit counts as being led by a leader, and therefore it ignores cover. Going on even further from that, which one is it? Hungry Void? Yes, so no, not Hungry Void. Conquering Tyrant. Necron's characters. Yes, there we go. So Protocol of the Conquering Tyrant. In your shooting phase, you pick a Necron unit and you get to re-roll the wound roll. And if your unit is led by a Necron character, you can do it at full range. What happens? Well, no, not what happens. Think about putting that enhancement on a character and having it stood by a monolith or a Doomsday Arc or a Annihilation Barge and things like that. So suddenly the Doomsday Arc is not only getting reroll wounds and therefore not only getting it at full range, but also if you go up to our detachment rule, we're also getting +1 to hit. So a Doomsday Arc is now hitting +1 to hit as well. And then you can use all those stratagems on them as well. So this is fantastic. This is almost, and I don't want to say auto-include, but I would look at trying to include this enhancement in pretty much every army which I'm writing, because it just creates so much fun that you can kind of do and buff, and synergies within this codex are absolutely fantastic. So this synergizes really, really well with the rest of the codex. Brilliant. And then the Sempiternal Weave. Now this one is, you'll find yourself taking this one a lot purely because it's just 10 points. So it's a Necron model only, and you just have a Feel No Pain 4+. So once a wound has gone through, you're rolling an extra dice. If you get a 4+, it doesn't count as a wound. So yeah, you will find yourself just kind of dropping this on lots of your characters in lots of your, obviously you can only take it once, but you'll find yourself dropping it in lots of your army lists just because, like, your army list might be 1990 or 990 if you're only doing 1,000 points, and you struggle to kind of spend those last 10 points. Just throw the Sempiternal Weave on something. Very, very cool. Really, really useful. There are some abilities which do something very, very similar, but this is the best version of a Feel No Pain. pretty pictures. Right, okay, here we go. So we're going to zoom out a little bit so that we can get all these in. There we go. Immotech. Now, Immotech is probably one of the coolest Necron characters out there. He's really, really cool. Unfortunately, the rules aren't that good. He's all right. He certainly does things. Now, one of the things that Games Workshop have done very, very well in this edition, I think, is given everybody a role. So everybody, there's not that many. If you think through all the indexes, there aren't that many data sheets which are like, it doesn't really do anything. There are some which do something, but you don't need them to do something because of the detachment. But remember, the detachment rule, there's going to be more detachments. So you might be able to, once you don't take that detachment rule and you start taking another one that you're slightly more interested in, then you can start using the data sheets which give something similar to the current detachment rules. So yeah, really, really nice. This Immotech, however, doesn't really, it's a bit of a shame he doesn't do anything when he's leading a unit. That would have been really, really good. He does give you an extra command point. So at the beginning of your command phase, it's only your command phase, it's not both, so you only get 5 extra command points, but you do get 1 command point every single turn extra, and then once per battle he can go boom and blow somebody up, basically. So he calls a storm and you roll a dice for one each enemy unit within 12 inches of the model, which is a bit of a shame. He used to be able to pick a unit and call the storm down at range, whereas now he's got to be nearby and in the trouble sort of thing. He's got to be in the he's just going to be in the middle of the battlefield, and then everything within 12 inches on a 2 to 5 they take D3 mortal wounds, and if you roll a 6 for that enemy unit then they take 3 plus D3 mortal wounds. So you can throw out a fair bit of mortal wounds, but again he's got to be like right in the middle of the battlefield, surrounded by units, not particularly where you want him to be. And if you are there, then it's usually the end of the game or towards the end of the game, and there's not that many units around you. Could be cool. But he is a leader. He can go into Immortals, Leash Guard, and Necron Warriors, as you will find a lot of the leaders do. In terms of his weapons, Gauntlet of Fire ignores cover and torrent, so he's got a flamer that's strength 5, armor penetration of -1, and only 1 damage, which is absolutely fine. And then the Staff of the Destroyer as well. You'll probably be using the Staff of Destroyer a little bit more, purely because he's got a bit more of a range on it. And the melee weapon, I've had a long time beef or kind of like meh about Necron characters in terms of I don't mind the fact that they don't have many attacks, that's fine, but when they hit, I still think they should hit a bit harder. Like, he's a huge robot. Like, make him hit things. The armor penetration is quite high for this edition, so that's quite good. So 4 attacks at strength 6. Armor penetration of 3, and then it's only 2 damage. Like, that would have been nice, but hey. But he does have devastating wounds, to be fair. So any 6s you do roll on the wounds, then you are doing straight 2 damage. And he can lead Immortals, Leash Guard, and Necron Warriors. It doesn't really matter which one you're going to put him in, because yeah, he's not really bringing anything to any of them. So maybe you'd put him in Immortals. Like, there's so many better options in Necron Warriors and Leash Guard, as we will find out. Maybe you throw him in Immortals and have them deep striking in, maybe. I don't know. He wants to be on the battlefield, really, for his command points. So, I don't know. You can definitely use him. You can definitely drop him in your army. This guy, however, I have every single model in the Necron range, apart from Orican. I don't have Orican. Oh dear. And he is going in. He's one of the first models that I'm putting in the list that I'm writing in kind of like a competitive spirit. Even if it's not a competitive spirit, like he's making his way into a lot of lists. Now, if you haven't got him, just wait a second. So, Master of Chronomancer. While this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have a 4+ invuln. Wait, what? So, while this model is leading a unit, so if you put him in a unit of 20 Necron Warriors, all of a sudden those 20 Necron Warriors have a 4+ invuln. Right, okay. And then the stars are right. This is probably this is probably easily one of my favourite rules / abilities in 10th edition so far. Once per battle at the start of the fight phase, this model can use this ability. So it's only once per battle, which is fine. He used to have like a regular stat line and then an empowered stat line, and he would power himself up for the rest of the battle. You can only do it once this time, which is fine. If it does, until the end of the until the end of the phase, triple the attacks and strength of the Staff of Tomorrow. So he suddenly has 6 attacks at strength 12 minus 3 D3 damage. But it doesn't stop there. For every successful wound, bearing in mind he's strength 12, it scores a crit. So he's basically got devastating wounds on every single wound. So, yeah, strength 12, doing D3 damage if you wound. There's no save to that. It's just, boom, there's your damage. Phenomenal. Now, I don't have this model. There were 2 models which I didn't have in the range. The other one was the Ghost Arc, which I have now corrected. I do have a Ghost Arc because they're very, very good. I haven't grabbed this model because... And I've been waiting so long for this model. Rumour Engine from 16th of November 2021, okay? Red Gobbo has been called away on his Christmas duties. We're back to divining cryptic messages from the Rumour Engine with nothing but our rampant guesswork. We are back to divining, bearing in mind that we have Orican the Diviner. There is the Rumour Engine, which I've very, 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 very patiently been waiting for ages. So I think this is Orican. I think this is a new Orican model. I think this is a new Orican model, and I think the stars are right. Is like I hope he's going to be empowered up a little bit, just so that he looks a little bit more impressive. If you think of Cesar, when Cesar came out, he just got like a massive like hench up sort of thing. So I wouldn't recommend going and grabbing this model. They have been saying that whenever codexes come out, they are going to be accompanied by a model release. So I think that whenever the codex comes out, we are going to get a new Orican model. So I am not going to buy Orican. I might in test games. If I play at a tournament and I have to use him, then I'll have to go and grab him and pick him up and just do a very, very quick tournament appropriate colour scheme for him. But I'm not going to pick him up because I'm really excited for that model. Really excited. Really excited. So, there is Orican. Absolutely amazing. And he can join Immortals, Leash Guard, and Necron Warriors. And then you also have... Now, this happens quite a lot with Cryptex. So, models with the Cryptech keyword. You can attach this model to one of the above units, even if a Royal Warden or a Noble model has always been attached to it. Now, I don't think... and no, Imhotep is a Noble, so that's cool. So Imhotep is a Noble, and so you could put, if you wanted to, Orican and Imhotep in the same unit if you wanted to. That's really, really cool. I do like that. On to Arakaya. I absolutely adore this model. I think this model is absolutely fantastic. He's really, really cool. I've used the legs. I've used his legs like he's got a really, really cool Necron skirt, if you like. I've used those for Necron Lord conversions. I think I've got 2 Necron Lord conversions using Arakaya. I do want to convert an Arakaya up. I need to get his head, because his head is so iconic. And then obviously his staff is a Necron staff, and then he's got the Tachyon arrow here as well. The Tachyon arrow is 1 shot. It's always been 1 shot, which is fine. My voice is going. Excuse me for a second. It's 1 shot. It is hitting on a 2+, which is fine. It's strength 16, minus 5 armor penetration, d6 plus 2 damage. So it is hitting quite hard. And then in melee, he's also got devastating wounds as well, which is great. I do like devastating wounds on Necron characters. That kind of does represent them like smacking hard. So hits on a 2+, he's got 4 attacks, strength 8, again minus 3 damage, so he has got the quite high damage 2. So in combat, arguably he's better than Imhotep. So while this model is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, you can add 1 to the wound roll. So in combat, Oh no, sorry. I take that back. I was thinking this was only in combat. Now, it's not. Now, I was sad about this because I was like, oh, +1 to wound. Leash Guard, that would be amazing. Can't go in Leash Guard. You can only go in Immortals. So, you can only go in Immortals. Immortals I quite like for kind of pushing forward and pushing up the battlefield, as you'll find out later on. So adding +1 to wound with their weapons as well, because their weapons are strength 5. So adding +1 to wound, you'll be wounding a lot of vehicles on 4s, which is quite cool, because they do have quite high armor penetration as well. So if you put Arakaya in a unit of Immortals, then they almost become a bit of a vehicle hunting unit. And also the Mind of the Machine, at the start of your opponent's shooting phase, select one enemy vehicle within 12 inches, and you have to take a leadership test. If you pass it, then you are -1 to hit. If you fail it, you can't shoot at all. So Arakaya with a unit of Immortals, you can kind of push them upfield and go kind of vehicle hunting a little bit. I think that's quite cool. And then obviously the Tachyon arrow as well. Take out some wounds off a vehicle as well. Strength 16 makes that rather interesting. 4+ invuln save. All the characters have all had 4+ invuln save so far. Really nice model. Really nice set of rules. Now that I've noticed that it's just an attack. For some reason I thought it was only a shooting attack. But yeah, +1 to wound. Really cool for Immortals. Quite fun. Now Vargard Oberon. Again, cool model. Unfortunately fine cast. Very cool model though. I like the pose. He is the Vargard for Nemesis Zandreck, and there's a really cool novel in Black Library about these two, which is really good fun. And yeah, so he can go into Immortals, Leash Guard, or Necron Warriors. Now he is always going in Leash Guard. There's only one argument against that, which we'll kind of come to. But this ability, Ghost Walk Mantle, when this model is leading a unit, you gain fight first. So if you put that in Leash Guard, they are always fighting first. It's fantastic, really cool ability. And then also, if Zandreck is also in the unit, remember if you're a oh, sorry, he's got a special rule, so you can also put him in a unit with Nemesis Zandreck, so you can have both of them in the unit. It's a little bit like the Cryptek Overlord, Cryptek Noble rule. So if they are both in the unit, then they both have 4+ Feel No Pain. It's just the character models. It's not the whole unit. Otherwise, that would be quite cool as well. But yeah, 4+ Feel No Pain if he's in that unit. Cesar. I'm just imagining what a new Orican might look like if this was how cool Cesar's looked. Right. So he's got the Eldritch Lance. I haven't done any of the stat lines. I'm very sorry. So he's actually Mr. Police Car. I haven't done anything wrong, I promise. He's actually Objective Control 3, which is useful. He's got 9 wounds at Toughness 8. Now the other ones, all the other ones have had like normal Necron stat lines: 2+ save, 5+ 5 wounds, 5 wounds, 5 toughness. Leadership 6+. I wish that was 5+, but hey, it's fine. You can't get everything. 6 wounds on Arakaya, toughness 5, and then the same on Imhotep as well. Toughness 5, 5 wounds. Orican is a little bit weaker because he's a Cryptek basically, so 4 wounds. They've all got Objective Control 1, but we get to Cesar's, who has Objective Control 3, which is really nice. He's got 9 wounds at Toughness 8, so he is quite hard to shift. Toughness 8 is really cool because he's not really going to be dropping to small arms fire, and he's 2+. Now he's not a leader, and he doesn't get he does get lone operative. So when he's within 3 inches of a Necron unit, he does get lone operative. So he is useful for that, but you've got to be within 3 inches of a friendly Necron unit. So that's cool. Now he gives Necron battle line units, which are Immortals and Warriors. He gives them +1 armor penetration if they are shooting, and also if they are getting shot at, they get -1 armor penetration. So you've basically got Armor of Contempt, if you like, for Necron Warriors and Necron Immortals within 6 inches of Cesar's, which is cool. So that's an aura as well. And also, if he ever kills anything in combat, then that aura gets bigger, which is really cool. So if he kills anything in the fight phase, then you can add 3 inches to that aura. So it could, and that doesn't seem to stop. So if you keep killing things in fight phases, then that could just end up being absolutely huge, which would be really, really interesting. You can just have like armor of contempt across your entire army if he keeps killing things. Obviously, you've got to try and get him into combat, but hey. And it's only models as well, so he only has to kill a model. It's not like he has to destroy a unit or anything. It's just killing a model. Very, very nice. He can't join anything because he's not a leader. Zandreck. Never saw Zandreck. Is quite interesting. He is quite interesting. You can kind of build around him. He is going to feature in one of the lists in the other video. He's got 6 wounds, so he's a little bit tougher, or a little bit harder to shift if you like. He's got toughness 5, again 2+ save, only 7+ leadership, which is fine because he's like a little bit loopy. This guy. He doesn't know he's a Necron. He thinks he's still alive, which is why he's always drinking wine and eating food. The wine's just like pouring out of him and everything. So he's a little bit mad. As you can see here, transient madness. While this model is leading a unit at the start of your command phase, roll a dice, and you either get sustained hits 1, which is really, really cool. Lethal hits, also really cool. Devastating wounds, very cool. So if you can put him in a unit of Leash Guard, that's quite interesting. You can then apply the stratagem to them. So because the Leash Guard are being led by a model, then they are hitting on 2s. And then if you apply the stratagem, they can then re-roll wounds and fish for those 6s. Same with the warriors. So if you do, at the beginning of the command phase, if you do roll that 5 or 6 for him, then just kind of bear in mind that you can apply that stratagem and get them re-rolling for devastating wounds, just fishing for those 6s. And then the counter tactics, which is super useful. I love how they're scattering all these really useful rules across all the characters and all the models and all the units, so that if you do want to build your army around one of these rules, then you have a way to do it, which is really, really good. So once per battle, after your opponent uses a stratagem, you can basically say that stratagem there is going to cost 1 extra every single time. Fantastic, very, very cool. It's got 4+ invuln. And like I say, he can join Immortals, Leash Guard, or Necron Warriors. Leash Guard, he's alright in Leash Guard. I think you're looking at putting him in Necron Warriors and Immortals because of this. Although devastating wounds or lethal hits in... Yeah, Leash Guard does work as well. So sustained hits in Leash Guard. Lethal hits and devastating wounds also work as well. Yeah. So yeah, he can go in any of them. Very, very good. And that's all weapons as well. So Leash Guard haven't got any shooting weapons anyway, so that's fine. Although Necron Warriors having devastating wound fists in combat is quite funny. Trazin, the Ancient Collector. Mr. Trazin, he's got 6 wounds. He's a little bit tougher. He's an ancient old crony. 5 wounds. Only objective control 1. He does have a pretty mediocre weapon. He's got sustained hits D3 though, so he is hitting a lot with it. It's just it hasn't got any armor penetration, so it's like a Tesla weapon with no armor penetration. 4 attacks. So if you get 1 6 in there, you'll be getting maybe 2 extra hits. So something like 5 6 hits at strength 7, and then D3 damage as well. So he's a very, very random in combat. He doesn't do that much for your army while this model is leading a unit. At the end of your command phase, if that unit is within range of an objective marker, then it stays under your control. So you basically get sticky objectives with a unit that is leading, which can be useful. Well, it is useful whether you're going to be moving off and moving around objectives. I think Necrons tend to be static around objectives, but you can build very, very fast Necron armies. So maybe he can be part of those kind of fast and agile Necron armies, where he's joining a unit of Necron warriors, tagging an objective and then moving on. So yeah, he's interesting. Definitely something to think about. The Royal Warden, he's a little bit weaker, like a little a mini hero. Toughness 5. He's only got a 3+ save though. 4 wounds. Movement 5. Everything is movement 5 in here, pretty much. All like the infantry are just movement 5. There's some exceptions when they're flying. 6+ leadership. objective control 1, which is fine. He's got a close combat weapon, which is like meh, because it's just a bayonet on the end of his gun. But his gun is lethal hits, so he's automatically wounding if he rolls a 6. He's got rapid fire 2, so if you're in 24-inch range, you're getting 4 shots. Hitting on a 3, strength 5, AP -1, and damage 2. The damage 2 is quite cool. So if you put him in... he can't go even in there because they're both nobles, so that doesn't work. While this model is leading a unit, ranged weapons equipped by the models have heavy and assault. Now this is one of those rules where it's going to be more useful in another detachment when we get more detachments, because at the moment, if your unit is led by a leader, then you get +1 to hit. So the heavy here makes no difference. So if the Necron warriors don't move, they're effectively getting +2 to hit. So maybe if you're going against something that's got lots of minuses, the assault does help, as we were saying. As long as you are able to eligible to shoot, then you can do actions. So maybe he can be in a unit that's looking to go around and do actions. He can join Immortals and Necron Warriors, so like a unit of Immortals going around, small unit of Immortals going around trying to do objectives, which would be quite fun. And then once per battle at the start of any phase, you can select one Necron unit that is battle shocked within 12 inches. That is no longer battle shocked. So if you are in a unit of Necron Warriors or a unit of Immortals, and you are pushing out to try and get some of those objectives, then you can say, no, I'm not battle shocked on this turn, and they can go and score you some points. So interesting, maybe not for current detachment. Scorp Lord, oh my god, this guy's awesome. It took me so long to convert a cool one of this, but I'm really happy with the one that I've done now. So move 7 inches. He's toughness 7 with 6 wounds. He's only got a 3-up save, which is a bit disappointing, but hey, he's objective control 2. And he has rapid fire 2, 2-shot rapid fire 2, and mythic annihilator. He's only 18-inch range, but that's not a problem because he's really going to be charging up, getting up in people's faces. Hits on a 2, it's strength 6, -1/1 damage. That's fine. That's not what he's here for. He does, however, have a Flensing Claw or a Hyperphase Harvester. So he's got a massive sword or his big claw. Now mine, I've been converted him so he's got an even bigger claw and an even bigger blade, which is fine. And he's got 4 legs. He looks insane. He looks really, really cool. I need to get him finished off. He's currently in Warhammer World, kind of 90% done. But he's a leader, so he can lead Scorp destroyers, obviously. He also gets a reanimation protocol, so he's getting every single phase, he's getting D3 wounds back. Sorry, not every single phase, that would be insane. Every command phase, he's getting D3 wounds back. United in Destruction, while this model is leading a unit, melee weapons have lethal hits, which is very, very good, because the toughness of the game has gone up so much, and the Scorpex haven't quite got a push up in strength, so we're still struggling to move some things. So if we're going into a vehicle and we're wanting to try and take the vehicle out, lethal hits is going to be really, really helpful. And also at the end of a charge move, you can select a unit within engagement range. On a 2-5 it takes D3 mortal wounds, and on a 6 he just comes pummeling in there and they take D3 +3 mortal wounds. He does have a 4-up invuln, and you can give him that sempiternal weave, so he could then have a 4+ invuln and a 4+ feel no pain. Really, really cool. You could also give him the hypermaterial ablator, so that his unit is then stealth, which I think would be hilarious. A unit of Scorpex destroyers which are stealthy, like paint them up all like dark and shadowy. It would just be hilarious. So yeah, he's really, really cool. And obviously having lethal hits, as long as he's leading a unit, he's then got lethal hits with the Hyperphase Harvester, which is strength 10, -3 damage. So if you're rolling any 6s on those 4 attacks, -3 damage if you fail in the save. There is also, don't forget, there is the +1 strength stratagem in here. And if you're led by a character, then you're also getting +1 armor penetration. So, oops, no, don't print. So this guy is then going from There we go. He's then going from AP3 to AP4 as well, and he turns into Strength 11, which, if you're wounding something, Strength 10 to Strength 11 doesn't really change that much, but -4 does. So yeah, really, really cool. Next one up, the Locust Lord. I need to convert some of these. I've got lots of Locust Heavy Destroyers. I do need to get lots more of them so that I can do some of the old Locust Destroyers, but just change the guns up from the Heavy Destroyers. And I need to convert one of these guys, because these guys are awesome. If you're taking Locust Destroyers, you're probably going to be putting one of these guys in. So, toughness 6, 6 wounds. Quite tough. It's going to be hard to move. It's only got a 3-up save, which is fine. Objective control 2, which is going to be very, very good, because these guys are going to be maybe deep striking, so putting them in a unit of destroyers and deep striking in, maybe even onto an objective or near an objective and clearing things out. He's got a Staff of Light, so 18-inch range, so you have to be quite close, but 3 attacks hitting on a 2, -2 and strength 5 and 1 damage. That's fine. His Lord's Blade has devastating wounds, and he also has a Staff of Light in melee. You're probably going to be using the Lord's Blade every single time. Why you would use a Staff of Light in melee, I don't even know why it's even there. But he's got 4 attacks, weapon skill 2, strength 8, -3, 2 damage. Absolutely brilliant. However, the rules are really cool now. He can join Locust Destroyers and Locust Heavy Destroyers. So Locust Heavy Destroyers are units of 3. Locust Destroyers can be the full units of 6, or the large units of 6. And he is part of a Destroyer cult. So while this model is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes a ranged attack, if you hit with a 5, you get a crit. Okay. Remember that one for when we get to Locust Destroyers and Locust Heavy Destroyers, because they might have something that happens on a crit. And driven by hatred, each time this model makes an attack that targets an enemy that is below half strength, you can re-roll the hit and the wound roll. Now that would be really nice if it was in a unit. Unfortunately, it's not. So it's in combat as well, though. So if he's in combat, and you remember you've got devastating wounds on the -3 and the 2 damage, devastating wounds on that. So you're going to be re-rolling the hits. You're going to be hitting 3 times. If you're going to be hitting 4 times effectively, and at strength 8, depending on what you're fighting, you're going to be wounding 4 times as well with a re-roll. So that's 8 damage just straight up, which is really, really good. It does have a feel no pain 5+. Again, this is probably going to be one of those useful ones if you do have 10 points left over, where you can put the Sempiternal Weave and give him a 4+ feel no pain. And then he also has Resurrection Orb. While the bearer is leading the unit, that unit's reanimation protocols activates at the end of your opponent's command phase as well as yours. So you're now reanimating twice a battle round. And remember, if you're reanimating and there's somebody in the somebody leading the unit, then you're getting +1 as well. So you're getting D3 +1 on this one. Or is that just the stratagem? Sorry, that might just be the stratagem. Yeah, so it's D3 +1 for the stratagem if you're using it. So you can resurrect in your opponent's command phase, your command phase, and a phase with that, and get just keep getting wounds back. So it's great. The that's the Lord. There we go, Locust Lord. The Resurrection Orb is amazing, really, really good. There's plenty of models that have it as well. And the cheapest way of getting a Resurrection Orb is the Lord. So you can just throw a Lord in there. I believe he's like 50 points. I don't think he's very much at all. Let's have a very, very quick look. A Lord is 65 points, so he's peanuts. Like 65 points to keep getting models back. Brilliant. He's not very tough, doesn't need to be. He doesn't do a lot in shooting, doesn't need to. Doesn't do that much in combat. He still has devastating wounds, which is still great. 3 attacks, damage 2. If you get those 6s, he's definitely doing damage. -3 armor penetration again, still loving the -3. So like the more I kind of look through all the characters and everything, the more I am liking them. Now this is where the +1 move went. So in 9th edition, it was My Will Be Done, and you would get +1 to hit and +1 move. So this is where the this is where the +1 move has gone to. So this is in the Lord. If you're leading a unit, they then become +1 move. And then the Lord's Will, while this model is leading a unit, you can target that unit with stratagems, even if it's battle shocked. That's really, really cool. Whether any of these are particularly going to get battle shocked, it's going to be towards the end of the game, probably when you're going to be wanting to use important stratagems. So it would be very, very good if they weren't battle shocked. There are plenty of armies where they can force battle shock checks, and they would do that at the beginning of the phase to stop you then doing the reanimation stratagem. So it'd be really good. Like the Thunderfire Cannon, I think forces a battle shock test as soon as it hits. So if you fail that, then you won't be able to reanimate. So that's really, really useful for that. And he can go in Immortals, Leash Guard, and Necron Warriors. Pretty much the same as everybody else. If I was to pick, I'd probably have him in Necron Warriors. The +1 move on Leash Guard is quite interesting, but I think you put him in the Necron Warriors for the Resurrection Orb and the battle stratagems when you're battle shocked. I think that's probably the best thing. Command Barge. This thing's awesome. This thing is awesome. I need to finish. I've got one converted up, which I just need to kind of finish off and do the Lord for, and it looks really, really cool. Catacomb Command Barge. It is toughness 8. It's got 9 wounds with a 3-up save. However, it's got a 4+ invuln save, and it's got advanced quantum shielding. So each time you attack the model, if the strength characteristic is greater, then you -1 wound. So unless you are shooting at it with strength 16, you are always wounding it on 4s. Because if you're strength 9, then you're wounding it on 3s, -1 wound, 4s. So you're always wounding this on 4s unless you're strength 16. Because at strength 16 you'll be wounding it on 2s, -1 you'll be wounding it on 3s. So always wounding it on 4s with a 4+ invuln. Brilliant. It also has a Resurrection Orb. And this one, it's not just Necron Infantry. You'll also see it's also Necron Mounted Tomb Blades. So you can resurrect Tomb Blades as well. And that's your opponent's command phase as well. And that's within 6 inches. So he's movement 9, so he can keep up with Tomb Blades, which is really, really cool. However, the rule that you'll probably be using him and taking him for is the Carrier Wave. While a friendly Necron unit is within 6 inches, add 1 to the objective control characteristic of the models. So you've now got objective control 3 Necron Warriors, which is obscene. And then if he's within 6 inches of that, then you're within 6 inches for the reanimation. So you can reanimate the Necron Warriors in your opponent's command phase and in my command phase. It's just so cool. So cool. Shooting, so he's got Gauss Cannon. You can either have a Gauss Cannon or a Tesla Cannon, and then he himself has a Staff of Light. I would probably take the Gauss Cannon. The Gauss Cannon having lethal hits is really interesting. And then the -2 armor penetration and damage 2, you can just kind of chip away a little bit of damage here and there if you need to. If your meta is particularly Horde, if you're seeing lots of Hordes like Genestealer Cult or Orcs, then you can take the Tesla Cannon. Sustains hits 2, you get 4 attacks, you get strength 6, you're getting loads of hits. Strength 6 is going to be like just munching through Hordes, and that's when you don't really need the armor penetration. And then the Overlord's Blade, again, it's got devastating wounds, 4 attacks, strength 8, -3, and then 2 damage. You're not really going to be using the Staff of Light in combat, so that's fine. Very, very cool. Overlord. Overlord can either have a Staff of Light or a Tachyon Arrow. Tachyon Arrow we've seen before. Strength 16, d6 + 2 damage. Kaboom! 1 shot. Staff of Light, 3 attacks. Strength 5, -2. He's got 6 wounds, so he's quite survivable, and with a 2-up save, he's not really going anywhere if he does get hit or picked off by precision. I don't know how often and how often you're going to run into precision snipers or precision combat and things like that. We'll have to see how the addition goes, but 2+ save and 6 wounds is going to be really, really useful for that. Again, devastating wounds on the Overlord's Blade. He does also have a Void side, which is great, because at strength 12 and 3 damage, that's the kind of stat line I like. And it's got devastating wounds. It's only got 3 attacks, which is fine. Like, if you roll a 6, it's just boom, 3 damage straight off. My will be done. Once per battle round, 1 unit from your army, and that's anywhere. 1 unit from your army with this ability can be targeted with a stratagem for 0 command points. So it's anywhere that he is joined into. So any unit that he's joined. So you can join. Again, you can join Immortals, Leash Guard, or Necron Warriors. Which stratagem are you going to be using this one for? Probably the reanimation. And that also means that you can use it twice as well. So not on that unit, you can't reanimate the same unit twice, but you can reanimate one Necron Warrior unit or a Leash Guard unit that has just been shot in that phase. And then using this, My Will Be Done, you can also then reanimate his unit as well. So very, very cool, and also it costs 0 command points. Now remember, if the designer's commentary on this one, if somebody has vectored the reanimation stratagem, which is add 1 to the command point cost, this would count that as 1 command point, because it counts as 0, but then it counts as 1 more. So that's where the 1 command point, but it does mean that you can still do it twice, which is great. And then Implacable Resilience, if he does get hit by a sniper, then you subtract 1 from the damage characteristics. So, like, nothing really is going to go through 6 wounds. He's not getting sniped out of a unit. That's just not going to happen, which is really, really good. And then he also gets a Resurrection Orb. So good. So good. So he can not only reanimate the unit in a shooting or a fight phase, or both if he wanted to, but it's once per battle round. So he can reanimate in the fight phase. He can then reanimate in the shooting phase by paying those points for the stratagem, and then in your opponent's command phase, when all the turns finished, he reanimates. Then you then have to go through all your turn, and then he reanimates in your command phase. Oh, it's just so good, reanimating everywhere. So yeah, if you're running and you're liking the idea of running Necron Warriors and having like just an implacable advance of Necron Warriors, then you need to start thinking about throwing some Overlords in your Necron Warrior units. Very, very cool. As for the weapon, I think I'd probably take the Void Scythe. The Void Scythe used to be more points, but now because he's just like 85 points for just that stat line and you can take it, I'd probably just throw the Void Scythe in there. The strength 12 is insane. It's really, really useful. Anything that's toughness 6, you're going to be wanting to do lots of damage too. So yeah, I like the Void Scythe on that. Technomancer, Rite of Reanimation. While this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have Feel No Pain 5+. So good. Toughness 4, 4 wounds, 4+ save, objective control 1, it's absolutely fine, doesn't matter. Staff of Light, so I mean he's only hitting on a 4, so he's not going to do anything in shooting. He's really not going to do anything in combat either. He's only got 2 attacks at strength 5, hitting on a 4+ again. He does have Fly when he's got the Canoptic Cloak, which is useful, but then he's going to be leading a unit. If he's not leading a unit, then you're wasting out on some of the abilities. The only time then where you wouldn't be taking him in a unit would be if you're running like a mechanized list, and then you can just kind of hide him behind things. But he's probably still going to get kind of taken out because he hasn't got lone operative. So just be very, very careful. He's probably going to be leading a unit 9 times out of 10. But at the end of your movement phase, which is also interesting, select one Necron unit within 3 inches, and they get D3 wounds as well. So you've not only done reanimation in your command phase, in your opponent's command phase, in your opponent's shooting phase, and your opponent's fight phase, then you're also doing it in your command phase, and then your movement phase as well. It's just, oh, so good. So yeah, like it's absurd. I'm loving it. I want to get 60 Necron Warriors on the tabletop. Yeah, so one of them led by a Technomancer, one of them led by Oracan. Oracan gives them all a 4+ invuln. Technomancer gives them all a 5+ nil, Feel No Pain. It's just, yeah, it's great. And then Canoptek Control Node. while a friendly Canoptech unit is within 6 inches, they get +1 to hit. Now, that's really interesting. That's very, very interesting because you have things like the Doomstalker, the Wraiths, and things like that. So if you really wanted to, massive thunderstorm here, it's so cool. If you really wanted to have an aggressive Wraith unit, you could stick a Technomancer nearby them. Remember, if you do that, you just got to be very, very careful to keep him out of line of sight. But within 6 inches, then the Wraiths are going to be getting +1 to hit, which is really, really cool. And the Wraiths, when we get there, I've got some very, very cool stuff. Psychomancer. I love this model, and I converted up a really spooky, scary one as well. So he's very, very interesting. 4+, again, it's the same stat line. 4+ save, toughness 4, 4 wounds. He's got the Abyssal Lance. He's not doing anything in shooting. He's not really doing anything in combat. He does, however, create -1 in leadership characteristic for everything within 9 inches. Okay, interesting. He can lead a unit, so you can throw him in a unit which is going to be pushing forward, maybe like a unit of Leash Guard, at the start of your shooting phase, and you can select one enemy unit within 18 inches, and they have to take a battle shot test. Now, just remember that 18 inches and 9 inches, so if you're picking somebody to take a battle shot test, unless it's absolutely necessary, pick one that's within 9 inches, because then they're -1 leadership as well. So they're more likely to fail the battle shot test. So if you want to take out a unit of Terminators, for instance, you don't want them to get Armour of Contempt, which is a stratagem now, then you can get this guy within 9 inches, and then you can -1 leadership to them as an aura, and then you can force them to take a battle shot test. Hopefully they fail it, and then they can't have stratagems put on them, which is quite cool. And you can join Immortals, Leash Guard, and Necron Warriors. Immortals, I think of these as Necron Warriors are going to be like the mainstay, staying at the back, holding objectives, maybe pushing up and just kind of touching the center objective. Whereas Immortals are going to be the ones which are moving around a little bit more. So Psychomancer, I would probably put in Immortals or Leash Guard. Push forwards, try to get that 9-inch -1 leadership aura going, and things like that. So very, very cool. Chronomancer. This has got some fun. This guy's got some fun. Does anybody know? Does anybody know anything about Eldar? Right. We'll go straight into it. So while this model is leading a unit, each time an attack targets that unit, subtract 1 to hit. So you're -1 to hit. So you're basically stealthy, which is very, very cool. And then also in your shooting phase, after the model's unit has shot, as long as they're not in engagement range, so as long as they haven't used pistols in combat or anything, they can then make a 5-inch move. They can't charge, but you can then make a 5-inch move. So now your Necron Warriors or your Necron Immortals can move out, shoot a unit, pop back in again, pop back into cover. Very, very interesting. Really, really cool. He's not doing anything in particular in combat. He's got 18-inch range on his Aeon Stave, which is reasonably interesting. It's D6 shots, but with blast. So if you're shooting a unit of 10 models and it's D6 +2, strength 5, -1 damage. It's fine. And then the Plasmancer. Now I'm quite intrigued by this guy. I am going to throw him in. I think he has made one of the lists which I've written for you as well to have a look at. But I do like this guy. I really like the conversion I did on him as well. I just kind of made him a little bit more bulky. But he's got Harbinger of the Destruction. While this model is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes a ranged attack, a successful modified hit of 5 scores a crit. So if you've got lethal hits with this guy in the unit, then you're critting and hitting and wounding automatically on a 5+, which is very, very good. And then Living Lightning, in your shooting phase, select one enemy within 18 inches. Now 18 inches is good. Visible, slightly annoying, because a lot of the times he's going to be hidden behind a piece of terrain so that he's out of line of sight from any precision stuff like stringing the unit back into your deployment zone. So because it's within, because this is visible, then he's got to kind of be out with the unit a little bit. You select one enemy unit and then roll d6 for every model in the unit, and if you roll a 6, then you get a mortal wound. So you want to be finding those large units and then just zapping them with some thunder and lightning, as we have right outside at the moment. And then the Plasmic Lance, again, the ballistic skill of Cryptex is not great, so they're not really doing anything, but occasionally they'll hit. And at strength 7, -3 and damage 2, he might do something interesting as well. Now, Living Lightning is 18 inches invisible, so if he's picking a unit and doing mortal wounds to it, then you'll also want to be Plasmic Lancing them as well. I would probably, if it's a large unit, I would do Living Lightning first so that they don't pull too many models off and force you to be out of range. If you're just in range of Plasmic Lance, then you're just in range of Living Lightning, and I'd rather try and do 4 mortal wounds than maybe just kill 1 model. And then if you kill 1 model, then it pulls the model out, you're out of range, you can't do Living Lightning. So just make sure you're getting those the right way around. And we're on to the troops. So I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to go and grab a cup of tea, and then we will get through all the rest of the data cards. They're really good. Okay, I'm back. I've got a fresh cup of tea, so my voice isn't going to die now. But we're back. We're back with the Necron Warriors. Going to be the mainstay, absolute mainstay of all Necron armies. Undoubtedly, they are the first battle line units that we have. They are movement 5, so not particularly quick, but hey, it's fine. Toughness 4, 4 up save, 1 wound. I'm not going to comment on the leadership value. It's absolutely fine. I'm trying to control 2. We have Gore's Flare and the Gore's Reaper both have lethal hits. Now, if you were thinking back to Nemesis Zandreck, Nemesis Zandreck gives either lethal hits, sustained hits, or devastating hits, devastating wounds. So you could, like, if you put Nemesis Zandreck in with the Warriors and you do roll the lethal hits, it's a little bit wasted. So maybe you can think about putting Zandreck in with the Immortals. But strength 5 with the Gore's Reaper. Strength 5 with the Gore's Reaper. It's only 12-inch range, but -1 and 1 damage is really useful. Remember, you can also play that stratagem to remove cover as well. So that gives them effectively an extra armor penetration. So armor penetration 2 at strength 5. But these ones aren't really. This data sheet isn't really about output. It's much more about staying around on objectives, and particularly this rule here. So each time this unit's reanimation protocols activate, it reanimates D6 wounds instead of D3, unless it's in range of an objective marker, in which case it's flat 3 plus D3 wounds. So that's every single time you reanimate. Now, if you reanimate from the stratagem, you're going to get D3 plus 3 wounds plus 1 for being led by a leader. You can then kind of pile this up, and you can do this every single command phase. So your opponents and yours, if you have an Overlord in there, if you have a Reanimator nearby, as we'll get to, you can reanimate at other points as well. If you have a Ghost Arc, you can do it at other points. It's going to get crazy. Yeah, so Necron Warriors, if you had, I've seen 20 Hellblasters overcharge, shoot into Necron Warriors, get 30 wounds because they were shooting in the Devastator Doctrine with sustained hits. So getting 30 wounds, and I've seen at the end of the phase them still being 20 Necron Warriors. Like, it's ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. It's really good fun, but it's also really interesting in the game, because as soon as you put down 20 Necron Warriors, and either after the first time your opponent shoots at them and realizes what you're doing, or or maybe they've kind of seen, or like if we're 2 or 3 months down the line and people know how tough Necron Warriors are, they just don't want to shoot at them. And if you've done a lot of damage to them as well, and you've whittled them down, and they're at, like, say 15, and you're going to get back up to 20 wounds in your command phase, they just don't want to shoot at them again, because as soon as you shoot at them, you can activate activate the stratagem again. If you've got the Overlord in there, you can do it for free. If you've got a Reanimator nearby, etc., etc., you can just keep pulling back wounds, keep pulling back models. And although the designer's commentary has said that you can't reanimate further than one model away from the unit, so you can't string the models out, you can still kind of reanimate one model closer to an objective, and then reanimate again and do another model closer to the objective. So you can still kind of creep forward with reanimation, or even just pull back with reanimation. It's really, really interesting. And these ones, there's going to be a lot of nuance, a lot of like different funky ways to play. You can have the vast majority of the unit hidden away, and you can just put a couple of the models out, so when they get shot you can reanimate them into a different area. Really interesting, really, really cool way of doing things. You can almost, like, if you had one Necron warrior on an objective, but the rest of the unit is near another objective, then your opponent is not going to want to shoot at them, because, especially being objective control 2, remember, if they're near a command barge, they're objective control 3, your opponent isn't going to want to shoot at them, because you can pull the models off and put them closer to the next objective. Like, it's all sorts of fun, yeah, very, very cool. And one of the coolest things is if you do have a unit which is below full strength at the beginning of your command phase, remember it's the beginning of your command phase and you count your objectives at the end of the command phase, you can then apply those models in certain ways to enable you to get more primary points. Really, really cool unit. Have a play, have a think. Get 20 Necron warriors. Just get some terrain and some scenery. It doesn't have to be on the full board or anything, just like on an A3 sheet of paper. Put some scenery down, put an objective on the far side of it, put 20 Necron warriors down, and then just kind of practice pulling them off, and then seeing what you can do, putting them back on again, and seeing how quickly you can put them back on, because it's crazy. It's really, really cool. Very, very fun. I'm super, super excited to play some of these, and I would recommend that you have 20 Necron warriors at least. Yeah, at least 20 Necron warriors in every single list. The only kind of counter argument to that is maybe 10, because also they are ablative wounds for your Technomancers as well. So if you have a Technomancer, if you're running a tank heavy list with lots of Monolith and Doomsday Arcs, and you want some Technomancers to run around and heal the Doomsday Arcs, if you stick them in a unit of 10 Necron warriors, the Necron warriors are effectively 10 regenerating ablative wounds for your Technomancer, so the Technomancer can't get shot and he's wandering around, particularly if he's got fly with the Canoptic Cloak, so he can scoot between all the Doomsday Arcs or Monoliths that need healing. So very, very cool. You're going to see them all over the place. Get some painted up. They're absolutely amazing. Really, really fun. I'm glad I've got 150 of them. Necron Warriors, amazing. Immortals, the second, and I think they're the only other battle line unit. So yes, Immortals. Now they are toughness 5, so they're a lot tougher. They're only 1 wound, 3+ save. Yeah, leadership. Objective control 2 again. So remember, if they're close to the command barge, then they are objective control 3, and they do have. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack, you can re-roll the wound roll of 1, which is really, really useful, particularly if they've got strength 5 weapons, or if they're on an objective marker. So if you're clearing an objective marker off with these, they can re-roll everything. So they can just re-roll wounds. It's just brilliant. If they're being led by a leader, remember they're getting +1 to hit, so they're hitting on 2s. If you look at a Gauze Blaster, strength 5, -1 armor penetration, hitting on 2s with lethal hits, re-rolling all the wounds. If you put Nemesis Zandreck in there, so they've got devastating wounds, maybe at some point. So they've got devastating wounds, or even they've got sustained hits as well. I'd probably take Nemesis Zandreck in a unit of Gauze Blaster Immortals, because if you do get the lethal hits roll on Nemesis Zandreck, then that's fine. But if you roll devastating wounds or sustained hits with them, that's absolutely amazing, because they're already re-rolling wounds, so you can fish for 6s if you've got devastating wounds. And because they're re-rolling wounds, if you get sustained hits, you're going to, if a unit of 10 has got 20 shots, you're going to get something like 28 hits because of the sustained hits as well. So cool. Really, really nice to have a unit of 10 of these just to kind of push forward and clear off any objectives that you need clearing out. If you have a Chronomancer in there as well, they can pop out, shoot, and then pop back into cover as well. Again, just there's so much you can do with these units. I'm so excited. There's rules scattered all the way across this, which you can kind of combine and pull together. Absolutely brilliant. Every model has a Gauze Blaster or Close Combat, and you can have 5 to 10. The Reanimator, yeah, so from 0 to hero basically for the Reanimator. He's not tough. He's going to get chipped away very, very quickly. So all he is going to be doing is sitting in the backfield, in terrain, out of line of sight as much as possible. Do not put him anywhere near, like his Atomizer Beam. Forget it. Like it's irrelevant. Do not use him. Don't put him out in the open or anything like that. He wants to stay behind a piece of terrain. You snake back and you train back all the units that you want to have extra reanimation, particularly Necron Warriors. While a friendly Necron unit is within 12 inches, and that's Necron unit, each time it reanimates, you can have an additional D3 wounds. And that's Necron unit. So if this reanimator is next to a monolith, the monolith is getting 2 D3 wounds back every time it is reanimating. That's every time it's reanimating. Not just in your command phase. So in the command phase, if you're right, there's so much. I've got so many ideas flying through my head. I apologise. Necron Warriors with an Overlord. Okay, so Necron Warriors with an Overlord can reanimate in my command phase and your command phase, and I can use a stratagem to reanimate in your fight phase or your shooting phase after you've shot at it for free. So that's 3 lots of reanimating. So reanimating in fight phase, your command phase, my command phase. Every time, so that's 3 lots of reanimation. I get to reanimate an additional D3 wounds. So and if they're on an objective, they're getting D3 plus 3 plus D3. So they could effectively, in one reanimation, get 9 models back. It's so cool. So reanimators, fantastic. They're very cheap. They're just going to be sitting in your backfield, out of the way, stay out of line of sight. They do have a Feel No Pain of 4+, which is really useful for indirect fire, because these are going to be chipped away at. If you put them out of the way, the indirect fire from your opponent, if they do have any, is probably going to be targeting these. Toughness 6 does make it a little bit difficult. 3-up save is useful. They're always going to be having cover, so they're always going to be getting that 2-up save. If there's some armor penetration, of course. So an effective 2-up save in cover. Yeah, Feel No Pain 4+ as well. So you've got to put some effort into killing it, but you can kill it. So, like I say, just hide it away. D3 wounds for every single model that's reanimating within 12 inches of this is insane. So you need to have one in your army. Just get one painted up. I'm sure you have one. If you're a Necron player, I'm sure you've got one, because I think I've got 4, because I had so many versions of Indomitors. Yeah, I've got 2 painted up, so it's absolutely fine. Very, very cool. I don't know what the weapons and the gun is completely irrelevant. Ballistic skill 4+, so if you're near a Technomancer, that's hitting on a 3+. Strength 6, -2, 1 damage. It's only 3 shots. Who cares? 4 attacks at strength 5, no armor penetration. So it's not doing anything in shooting or melee. So you're not missing out on anything. Hide it in the back corner. Brilliant, brilliant model. Hexmark Destroyer. I love this model so much. I have 3 of them when they were terrible in 9th edition anyway. Like, they were so bad in 9th edition. They didn't really do anything. They could come down and interrupt and like clear away a little bit more for a deep strike. But they were... yeah, forget it. Now they're really interesting. They have Lone Operative. Lone Operative, as you will find out, is an amazing keyword. It's very, very cool. Unless you're within 12 inches of this model, you cannot target it. It's brilliant. Also comes with Deep Strike. You'll probably be putting it on the board for a lot of the time. This is a great model for... I can't remember the name of it. Oh no, what's the name of it? We're going to go up here quickly. Is it Sempiternal? It's not the Sempiternal. The Sovereign Coronal. There we go. This is a brilliant model for the Sovereign Coronal because you can't target it unless you're within 12 inches of it. So everything within 6 inches counts as being led by a character. So you're going to get this little dude, plonk him next to your Doomsday Arcs or your Monoliths or your Doomstalkers, etc., 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 and then all of a sudden they're getting +1 to hit. Doomstalker is really interesting because you can get an extra +1 to hit from a Technomancer, so that a Doomstalker is then effectively hitting on a 2+ as well, which is great. There we go. Hexmark Destroyer. Absolutely love the model. I've got 3 converted, all different poses. I've got one of them all shooting the same direction. One of them has the old Gauntlet of the Conflagrator relic, so he's got a flaming pistol, which looks really, really cool. Yeah, very, very cool. The other rules that it has, it can fire Overwatch for 0 command points, which is really cool. And it doesn't have 2 damage on its pistols anymore, which is kind of okay. It does have precision though, so you can chip out things like Farseers, which are really annoying. So if a Farseer gets a little bit close, you can pick it out and fire Overwatch. So keep your eye out when in your opponent's movement phase. If he's moving something around, just keep an eye out if he's getting a Farseer within a little bit close, or an enemy leader a little bit close. Just take a quick pot shot at him just to see if you can knock some wounds off. In addition, each time you do, so yeah, if you are firing Overwatch, he hits on a 2+. So he doesn't just hit on a 6, he hits on a 2+. Really, really good. And then the other one as well, so he's standing next to your Doomsday Arcs, your Monoliths, things like that, that now count as being led by a character. If somebody shoots at that unit within 3 inches of this guy, then he can shoot back. As if it's your shooting phase. So he gets 6 shots at hitting on a 2, strength 6 -2, 8 armor penetration. So yeah, he's always shooting. ABS, always be shooting. Cool model. Toughness and wounds is irrelevant because he's a lone operative, so unless you're within 12 inches, you're not really shooting at him. So he's only really going to get shot in the end game when there's not much left and everything's a little bit closer together. So yeah, very cool. Leash Guard. Oh, right, now there's some pros and cons here. There's a massive pro. Sorry, Leash Guard are amazing. The conversation comes when you're trying to decide who leads the Leash Guard. So, wall side, the devastating wounds. Okay, that's cool. It gets 2 attacks. If you have 10 of them, that's 20 attacks at strength 8, 2 damage. Okay, that's quite good. The Hyperface Sword means that they come with a dispersion shield, so the bearer has a 4+ infant save. Now, that's quite interesting. So, you can have a Hyperface Sword and a shield. You can't mix them, which is a little bit of a shame. You can either replace the war scythe completely with the sword and the shield. It would be nice to have like a couple of war scythes in there, but hey, who cares? It's fine. They still hit quite well. They're strength 6 at -2 armor penetration. If you remember, there's a stratagem that can make them strength 7. And then that also, if they're led by somebody, then it turns into armor penetration 3, which is really, really good. When a noble is leading them, you can subtract 1 from the wound roll whenever they're in combat. Now, they're already toughness 5, so if they're in combat, they're usually going to get wounded on a 5, something like that. So a combat unit that's hitting them, usually something like a strength 4, strength 5, something like that. So they're going to be wounding on just less, which is really, really good. The issue is the noble keyword is not as prominent as you think. And the first model that we had the idea to drop in to a Leash Guard unit was Vargard Oberon. Where is he? Here he is. And he is not a noble. So you can either fight first and not get -1 to hit. So if you get charged in, -1 to wound, sorry. If you get charged, you're going to be fighting first, and you're going to be taking out the vast majority of the unit that's charged you. So you're going to take less attacks back at you, but you don't have the -1 to wound. Or you can take an actual noble if you scroll down a little bit further, So here's a noble. So you can have a you can put Zandreck in there as well, and then they all of a sudden maybe they'll have devastating wounds in combat, and then because he's a noble, they are -1 to wound. So you can have Nemesis, Zandreck, and Oberon. It's quite expensive. Or you could put in a actual noble, which would be, where's an overlord? Overlord or a lord? There we go. So a lord is a noble, +1 move. It's quite interesting. Can't target with them with stratagem if they're battle shocked. Yeah, okay. And obviously that gives them a reanimation as well. Or you can give them an overlord. An overlord's probably a better way, because of course you can use the reanimation for 0 command points, and you get to reanimate them twice, and you have a little bit of punch with the overlord as well in combat. So yeah, there's a couple of different ways you can take this. If you put the overlord in there, of course, then you can put in a Cryptek as well, and you can give them a 5+ feel no pain, or you can make them -1 to hit if you're getting shot at. So -1 to hit if you're not -1 hit if you're just getting attacked. So the Chronomancer. So there's a couple of different ways you can kind of equip the Leash Guard beyond just giving them either a War Scythe or a shield, which I think is really interesting. So just have a think about which way you want to go. There's lots and lots of different things you can do. You can always put Nemesis or Zandreck in there, and then a Plasmancer. So Nemesis or Zandreck would give them lethal hits / sustained hits / devastating wounds, and that kind of combines with the Plasmancer. On a 5+ to hit, it scores a critical hit, so you'll be getting lethal hits / sustained hits on a 5+. Quite interesting as well. Leash Guard, really, really good. You'll see them everywhere, and they're a really nice unit as well. Death Marks. How many characters are we going to see in 10th edition? Because it's looking like, I mean, particularly for Necrons, whenever I'm doing a unit, I'm putting a leader in there. They're so good. Eldar are incredible with Farseers. What else? You've got Dracaria really good with Archons. You've got the Grey Knights going around with brother captains everywhere. There's a lot in there. There's a lot in the game now that's character-wise. You want to be able to take out those apothecaries. Apothecaries are only 4 wounds. Primaris apothecaries are only 4 wounds. You only need 2 hits to go through. They're damage 2. 2 hits to go through, and you take out that apothecary, which is regenerating Blade Guard or Terminators all the time. So these are really interesting. They're strength 5 as well. So apothecary is only 4 wounds at toughness 4. So they're wounding the apothecary on 3. He's only getting a 5-up save. Quite interesting. They are only 1 shot. They have got a massive range though. Yeah, the only downside is that they can't have anybody join them. So you can't have anybody join into the death mark. So if you're running the coronal, sovereign coronal, then you want to be putting these nearby to that so that they do get the +1 to hit. So when they're coming, they do have deep strike, so you can bring them in as deep strike, put them near that sovereign corona, so that you can get the +1 to hit. So the act is being led by a leader. +1 to hit, strength 5. So they're doing some work. Points wise, they're actually pretty good. They're very, very well pointed. Their 5 models are 65 points, so 10 models is 130 points. That's pretty good. 130 points for 10 shots that are a damage 2 and precision, being able to pick out some characters. So if you're running in a meta that's got lots of characters, or you just want to be a sneaky sniper, take some death marks. Very, very cool. Oh yes, and also once per turn in the reinforcement step of your opponent's movement phase, when an enemy unit is set up on the battlefield from reserve, this unit can shoot at them, basically, which is really, really good. So they used to be able to intercept, so when you brought something down from deep strike, they could deep strike next to them and then shoot them, but now it's just they've got to be within 18 inches. So this will be one of those things that says, oh, if you deep strike there, just remember I can shoot at you. So it's one of those very, very nice little rules that's pushing your opponent back away from you. Very, very nice. Flayed ones. Oh, I'm sad. 5 to 10. So I can only take, because they're not battle line, I can only take 30 flayed ones. I've got 45. I've got 45 flayed ones. I can't take 45 flayed ones anymore. I can only take 30. I can take 3 units of 10 flayed ones. They're awesome though. They're just nuts. They die to a stiff breeze. Horribly die to a stiff breeze. However, they do have stealth. They do have infiltrators as well, so you can push them further forward in the first turn, in deployment. But if you're attacking something that's below half strength, everything is a crit, which is awesome. So sustained hits 1, and they've got twin linked. Twin linked is re-rolling wounds. Sustained hits 1 with 4 attacks, and everything is a crit if they're below half strength. If your opponent is below half strength. So a unit of 5. Think of a unit of 5 of these. 20 attacks going and just clearing out something that you've just chipped off a few models of. So a unit of 5, you want to be going and chipping out a couple of models, going in there and then just clearing out the rest of them, maybe taking an objective or something like that. So these are going to be really, really good. Basically infiltrators. The role has changed a little bit, but for, I think there's 70 points for 5. For 70 points for 5 of these, and they've got infiltrators and stealth as well, so they're not particularly going to get shot too much if you can kind of keep them out of the way, hide them behind some terrain, chip off some wounds from a enemy unit, and then charge these guys in, clear up, and then maybe drop onto an objective or something. That'd be really, really cool. They're just going to be an absolute pain. They're not going to be staying alive very often. They're going to be harassing your enemy and just making a pain of themselves while you're either running the mission or picking on something else. So very, very cool. They do have to be dealt with. Because 20 attacks, sustained hits 1, yeah, it could be fun. I'm definitely going to play around with some and there is a unit in one of the lists which I'll write for you as well. Oh boy, I hope everybody has some crypto thralls. Luckily, I've got 6 of them. I do, however, convert them. I leave off the barrels. I think the barrels look ridiculous. They make them look like a beer barrel. So if you cut the arms off, it's ever so simple to do. If you cut the arms off the barrels, put the arms onto the models, you can see, because they've got like this big power generator behind the barrels. It's such a shame to cover it up because it looks amazing. So if you don't put the barrels on, it'll look really, really cool. Anyway, I've got 6 of these, which is good because they can join. They can join a Cryptek infantry model. They can join that model if it joins a unit. So if you have a Technomancer or a Plasmancer or Orakan, or because Orakan has the Cryptek keyword, or a Plasmancer or a Psychomancer, if you have any of those Crypteks join a unit, the Crypto Thralls can join it as well and create a bodyguard. Now, once they join a unit, you then have access. You then have access to Feel No Pain 4+. So the Crypto Thralls themselves have Feel No Pain 4+. They also give the Cryptek Feel No Pain 4+. That's not that much of an issue unless you've got precision coming at you and trying to take out a Cryptek. It's the Crypto Thralls having the Feel No Pain 4+. Now, I'm just going to say very, very quickly, just consider this. Crypto Thralls, unit of Necron warriors with an Overlord and Orakan the Diviner, or Diviner. Somebody shoots at that unit, the unit has 4+ invuln save. Any wounds that go through, you then tank on the Crypto Thralls. Crypto Thralls have a 4+ Feel No Pain, so a lot of those hits are going to be trying to kill the Crypto Thralls. Once the Crypto Thralls are finally dead, you're then killing Necron warriors. You've tanked an awful lot of damage, and then once all that has come in, then you click your stratagem for free from the Overlord, and then you reanimate the Crypto Thralls back, and then however many wounds, because that's D3 D3 plus 1, plus if you're in range of a reanimator, it's an extra D3. If you're on a objective, or if you're on range of an objective, it's D3 plus 3, so it's 2D3 plus 4 effectively. So you're bringing the Crypto Thralls back, so that's brings you your 4 plus Feel No Pain tank back. Yeah, incredible. If you can, stick some Crypto Thralls in your Necron Warrior units. It's a lot of fun. Right, I don't even know what this is. Each time a model in the unit is destroyed by a melee attack, if that model has not fought this phase, roll a d6. 3 plus, do not remove it from play. Oh, that's even cooler. So you can fight on death as well. So the Crypto Thralls give the entire unit fight on death. That's quite cool. So that's almost as if like, oh, how dare you kill one of my friends? I'm going to go and attack you. So that's quite cool. So if you have these in a unit of Immortals, then the Immortals are going to be fighting on death. Great. That's, oh my word, just thought, if you put that, that's really good actually. If you put Crypto Thralls in a unit of Immortals with Vargard Oberon, the Immortals are going in. Even if they get charged, they're fighting first, so they get to fight. Oh, they get to fight. Kill the enemy. The enemy fights them back. Maybe kills a couple of Leash Guard. The Leash Guard then fight them back again, kills more of the enemy, and then you reanimate them all anyway. Wow. There's so much synergy in this. I love it. It's absolutely brilliant. Right, Scorp Destroyers. They have lost -1 to wound, so there is no -1 to wound stratagem that these guys can access, and they haven't got it as an ability either. However, each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack, you can ignore any minuses to hit, which is really, really cool. So that's good. And then the Plasma Sight, you can make them have devastating wounds. Now with 4 attacks each, they've lost the big sword, which is a bit of a shame, but with 4 attacks each, strength 7, damage 2, you can make that strength 8 -3 if they're led by a Scorp Lord. And with devastating wounds, that's quite interesting. Although devastating wounds has got no, it doesn't matter about the strength with the devastating wounds, but the plasma sight as well. For every 3 models, you can have a plasma sight. So if you have a unit of 6 destroyers, you can do that twice. So you can have devastating wounds twice in the same unit, which is really, really cool. So go in there, take out something. Try to the first time you use them, try to stay out of line of sight, or forcing your enemy to move to get some combat to get some line of sight into them. So the first time they're going to go in, you're kind of picking on a unit, and then the second time you go in, you can kind of throw them full bore at something in the middle of the army, because then like the plasma sight is done, etc., etc. So really, really nice unit. Movement 7 as well, which is cool. Goes really well with the Scorp Lord. Again, Scorp Lord leading them, they're all suddenly hitting on 2s. You can give them the +1 strength. It's just great. It's just great. And then they're reanimating as well, of course. Yeah. Triarch Stalker. Now this is the only other way in the index at the moment that we can get access to ignoring cover. So this, and it's unfortunately probably the only thing it does. Targeting relay. In your shooting phase, each time this model is selected to shoot after resolving its attack, select one enemy unit that was hit by one or more of these attacks. Until the end of the phase, that unit cannot benefit from cover. So you give whatever is shooting that unit ignores cover, which is good. So that's probably the only thing it does. It doesn't really do a lot else. Because of this, you want to be picking something that's got lots of shots. So you'd probably pick the heat ray. Or the particle shredder. The particle shredder is quite nasty. And it's got the particle shredder has a slightly longer range. The Gauss cannon has got three shots, so at least it's trying to hit on a 3+. So yeah, it's you probably take the heat ray focused melter 1. That's not too bad. You probably take the heat ray on this. Stick the twin Gauss cannon underneath it, so you can either have the particle shredder or the twin Gauss cannon hanging underneath, because it has. Oh no, it only has one of these weapons, doesn't it? Yeah, it only has one of these weapons. Yeah. So I would probably take. Yeah, I'd probably take the heat ray. I think I'd take the heat ray, and then if you need a unit to not get cover, like if you need to whittle down a unit and it not needs it to not get cover, no, because it's only got 12-inch range. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, you'd have to take. So you'd have to really take the twin heavy Gauss cannon, unless you can find a good line of sight. Because the issue here is it's only got an 18-inch range. I know it moves 9, and it is toughness 8 with 12 wounds, so it is quite tanky. Yeah, your choice really. I don't know what I would pick on this. It's probably between the heat ray and the heavy Gauss cannon, to be fair. Like the particle shredder seems a little bit like, I don't think we really struggle. We're not really, although it's got blast and devastating wounds. So that's D6 plus 8. Yeah, I still think it's between the twin heavy Gauss cannon, because it's twin linked as well. That is, and the heat ray. I think it's between those two. It's an interesting one, actually. It is reasonably expensive. The only thing you're really taking it for is for this kind of benefit of cover. Yeah, cool. Although, to be fair, it is another way that we can get access to some sort of anti-tank. So within 9 inches, then this is D6 plus 4. Quite cool. Catan Shard of the Deceiver. Now, the first time I looked at this, I wasn't that blown away with it, so I'm going to have a proper look at it now. So we've got toughness 11, 12 wounds. We are half damage and a 4+ invuln. Okay. And he's got stealth. So he's -1 to hit. Toughness 11. 12 wounds with a 4+ invuln. So you've got to do 24 wounds to... Oh, wow. Okay. And he's got fly. He's an epic hero, so he can't be given enhancements. However, the Transcendent Catan isn't an epic hero. The Transcendent Catan is a little bit more expensive. Right, Cosmic Insanity, anti-character 4+, devastating wounds and precision. So you get 6 shots at 18 inches at a character, hitting on a 2 at strength 6. So you're getting 5. You're getting 5 hits. So within range of a character, you're getting 5 hits, and then you've got anti-character 4+, devastating wounds. So you may be getting 3 wounds on a character. And then at strength 6, sorry, when I say 3 wounds, you're probably getting 3 devastating wounds, so 3 mortal wounds on a character. And then at strength 6, you're probably getting another wound, so they... Yeah, he's not bad actually, is he? He's not bad. He is expensive. How much is he? I think it's 270. Deceiver, 265, nearly. And then Golden Fists, 8 attacks, strength 8 -3, 3 damage. Okay. So output's not bad. He's going to be... Yeah, he's going to be harassing characters. He is going to be harassing characters. Anti-character 4+. With 6 attacks. If you get that Catan power to go through and you hit with all your attacks, you could quite easily take off 4 wounds off something. You could quite easily take off 4 wounds. Like that's not like an unbelievable roll to take 4 wounds off a character within 18 inches. That's quite cool. That's quite cool. Okay, that's quite cool. Right, Grand Illusion. If your army includes this model, after both players have deployed their armies, select up to 3 Necron units and redeploy them. When you're doing so, you can put them in strategic reserve if you like. Now, this is it's got the same like issue that all these rules have in 10th edition. It's after you've deployed, but before you know who's going first. So it's almost as a counter to whatever your opponent's deployed. So if somebody has deployed quite aggressively and you want to be a little bit more defensive, maybe you can redeploy some stuff. I think this is the only redeploy we have. And obviously it also allows you to pull stuff into strategic reserve as well. So if you've accidentally put one of your models or units in a slightly bad place, you can just kind of pull it off and stick it in strategic reserve and bring it down, or you can deploy aggressively to push your opponent back and then pull something off into strategic reserve. There's some things you can do. Yeah, that's quite cool. And with 12 wounds and getting reanimation, so he hasn't got lone operative, so he is going to be picked out. He can't lead anything, so he's on his own. But he is getting reanimation every. Command phase. You can use. He hasn't got the. Oh, he has got the Necron keyword. Wonder whether it says infantry. Let's just quickly check the Undying Legions. Where is it? I think it's just Necron, isn't it? Where's the reanimation? There it is. Yeah, one Necron to unit. So you just have to pick a Necron to unit. Oh, no. One that's had one or more of its models, so it wouldn't apply because you'd have to lose a model, and if you lose the model, then it's gone. So you can't use that one. Okay, that's not too bad. I think that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. If he is within range of the reanimator, of course, he is going to be getting 2d3 wounds back every single command phase. So that's quite cool. Right, let's have a look at the Nightbringer. I do want to convert a model for this. I want to convert a new model. I don't know whether anybody's seen Darren Latham's Nightbringer, but I want to do that. But use a better scythe, a better scythe. I want to convert a different scythe than the one he used. But I do want to convert a new Nightbringer because oh my god, I love it. So good. Right, Gaze of Death. This was its shooting attack. It hasn't actually got. Hasn't got its Catan power anymore. So Gaze of Death, it's always has this 18-inch range, D3 shots, strength 12, -2 armor penetration, D6 +3. Wow, that's a lot of damage. Okay, that's quite cool. It's not very many shots, but hey, who cares? And then the size of the Nightbringer, 6 attack, strength 14, strength 14, -4, and then D6 damage. Yeah, that's insane. And then the sweep. Oh, I need to put the... So this, oddly, this one, this Catan is the cheapest. So this guy's just a blender. 14 attacks, hitting on a 2. Strength 8, -2, 2 damage. And then at the end of the fight phase as well, roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within 6 inches. And on a 4+, you take d3 mortal wounds as well. That's every unit within 6 inches. And then, of course, he's still toughness 11, 12 wounds, halving damage with a 4+ invuln. So he's effectively got 24 wounds. Very cool. Very cool. Can't be your warlord. Catan Void Dragon. Now this guy is just turns vehicles into craters. Spear of the Void Dragon, anti-vehicle 2+. Hits on a 2, strength 4, but remember it's anti-vehicle 2+, and then d6 +2 damage. So he's got one shot that's hitting on a 2+, so it's 2+, and then 2+ against a vehicle, -3, and then possibly 8 damage. That's insane. And then Voltic Storm as well. It's got blast, sustained hits 2, d6 +3. Remember that's blast, so if you're targeting something that's got 10 models in it, then it's d6 +5. Strength 7 -1 armor penetration, 2 damage. That's a lot of damage as well. And then Spear of the Void Dragon, you can strike at a vehicle at strength 12 -3. The -3 is pretty irrelevant because anti-vehicle 2+. You probably. If you really need to kill the vehicle, then you can use a command point on this one. So you're probably hitting 5 times. You're probably wounding 5 times. That's d6 +10 damage. Sorry, 5d6 +10 damage. That's killing anything. Wow. And then Matter Absorption. At the start of your shooting phase, select one enemy vehicle within 12 inches and roll a d6. On a 2+, it takes d3 mortal wounds as well. And the Catan heals back d3 mortal wounds, which is really, really useful because you are halving damage as well. You're halving damage coming in, so you're wounding Like if you heal 3 wounds back, that's effectively healing 6 wounds. Yeah, that's cool. And he's got fly. How fast is he? 7 inches. So 7 inches. So he's not too quick, but fly is helpful for. Although he's got a big base, so he's not going to be kind of jumping over too many things. Really nice. Now this one doesn't have epic hero. Doesn't have the epic hero keyword, so you can give this one the Sempiternal Weave, which is a 4+ feel no pain. So you are halving damage coming in. You've already got a 4+ invuln. You've then got a 4+ feel no pain on top of that as well. With 12 wounds, toughness 11. Seismic assault, so he's basically creating an earthquake. It's an assault as well, assault ability as well, so he can move and advance as well. 6 attacks, hitting on a 2, strength 8, D3 damage, -2, and then sustained hits as well, so you're probably, well, like statistically you're hitting 6 times because you're missing with 1, but you're getting 1/6, so you're hitting 6 times at strength 4, so really, really good for clearing out kind of Space Marines, I suppose, because you're wounding on 2s and then D3 damage as well. And then this is really interesting. So transdimensional displacement. Each time this model is selected to advance, you can remove it from the battlefield and set it up anywhere 9 inches away. And it's got assault. So if you need to play missions, if you need to play the mission where you need to do a action somewhere, and it's like completely out of the way and nobody can get there, advance this guy, teleport him where you need to do it. He has an assault weapon, so he is eligible to do the action, and then you can do the action. So this guy is amazing at absolutely amazing at mission play, and also you just can't kill him because you've got a 4+ invulnerable save, a 4+ feel no pain, and you're halving all the damage that's actually coming in as well. Yeah, ridiculous. Absolutely incredible. So, yeah, right. Luckily, I've got 2 of these as well, so that'd be quite cool. Right, next we've got the Canoptek Spiders. Canoptek Spiders. Particle Beamer, Blast, Devastating Wounds, Strength 6, no armor penetration on this one, which is fine. You're not really taking this for its output. You're taking it for the abilities that it can do. It's got 6 wounds at toughness 7, so that's not bad. That's pretty resilient to small arms fire. It's got armor objective control of 2+. However, the leadership isn't great. You're only really going to be taking these in units of 1 anyway. They can go in units of 2 if you want them to. But yeah, they're not going to be particularly holding objectives, and there's not that much you can stratagem-wise apply to them. So I wouldn't worry too much about the leadership or the objective control here. However, in your command phase, select 1 friendly Canoptek Scarab Swarm. 1 destroyed model is returned. So that's really cool. If you have 2 of them, then you can restore 2 bases of Scarab Swarms. Really, really good. It doesn't say it can only happen once. So in your command phase, select 1 friendly swarm within 6 inches of the unit. 1 destroyed model is returned. Yeah. So you could have 4 spiders. You could have, yeah. It doesn't seem to say anything there that you can't have 4 spiders and have it twice. Do it twice. And then this one as well. So Fabricator Claw away. While a friendly Necron's vehicle is within 6 inches, it's got a feel no pain of 6+, which is amazing when you're thinking about a monolith with 20 wounds. So monolith with 20 wounds, you're adding an extra like 4 wounds on top. So it's a 24 wound monolith. Really, really useful. And then while a friendly Necron unit is within 6 inches of the bearer, models in that unit have a feel no pain 4+ against psychic attacks. So this is one of the really, really good ways that we can get psychic defense. So it has this little gloom prism that you can see here that's hanging underneath it. Nice unit, really, really good. I would always put, because it's like all the war gear is included in the price. It says it can be equipped with a Fabricator array and it can be equipped with a Gloom Prism. Just put them on. It's worth it. Scarab Swarms. I love these guys. And I also love, this is my was always my favourite stratagem in 8th edition. It stayed in 9th edition, and now it's an ability in 10th edition. So at the start of the fight phase, if this unit is within engagement range of one or more enemy units, you can select one model to destroy. If you do not roll for the model's deadly demise, so it's got the deadly demise 1, which is really cool. Instead, select one enemy unit within engagement range and roll a d6. Add 1 if it's a vehicle. So if it's a vehicle, it's always doing mortal wounds because you can't roll a 1. And on a 2 to 5, it takes d3 mortal wounds. On a 6, you're taking d3 plus 3 mortal wounds. And this is better than the stratagem, because the stratagem you could only use once in the phase. If you have 2 units of Canoptech Scarabs, you can use it twice because it's an ability on both datasheets, on both the units. So you can, if you want to try and take out a vehicle, you're charging in 2 Scarab Swarms, 2 individual units. You can self-destruct 1 Scarab Swarm from each unit and do this twice. And then the usual swarm rule that we're getting in 10th edition. So while the unit is with engagement range, subtract 1 from the objective control, which is really, really good because these guys have objective control 0 to a minimum of 1. They've remembered to put the 2 a minimum on this one. Feeder mandibles, lethal hits, so they're getting a lot of attacks. They might get a few automatic wounds through. They're only toughness 2 though, so they're going to die to a stiff breeze, but like self-destruction is amazing. It's one of my favourite rules ever. And from one of my favourite rules ever to my favourite models in the current range, these are absolutely amazing. I have an embarrassing amount of these models. And I think I've used them once. Like they were always interesting in 9th edition. They're going to be more interesting now in 10th edition. They still don't do that much. However, toughness 5, 3 wounds, 4 up save, so they're a little bit flimsy. Nothing can join them, so you can't be led by anything. These can't be led by anything, so these are going to be a very, very good counter assault unit. So either leave these in your backfield to kind of counter assault, and keep them within range of the I've forgotten the name of it again. Hang on, I've got it here. The sovereign coronal. There we go. Keep it in range of the sovereign coronal so that you are always counted as being led. So you can hit on 2s, and you can get extra reanimation. You can use the stratagems on them, which give them +1 strength. So it turns them into strength 5. And -3 armor penetration, which is really, really good. So at strength 5, -3, they become an absolute marine killer, which is really, really cool. So they will be very, very good at counter assault. And then towards the late game, because the leadership is only 7+, it's not that good. So you don't really want them battle struck. But towards the end game, you can then be very, very manipulative with them, because at the end of your opponent's turn, if you're not within combat with these, then you can pick them up and you can put them back down again in your movement phase, which is great. So these are very, very cool kind of objective grabbers for the end game. They do have Plasma Sight, which gives them devastating wounds. 5 attacks, so a unit of 3 of these has 15 attacks. So they're hitting on a 2+ if you're within range of that coronal. So devastating wounds are going to be popping off quite regularly. With damage 2, it could be quite useful. Counter assault unit, very, very cool. End game objective grabbing, like the unit. I'm going to have lots of them because I've got lots of them, so I'm going to use some of them. They're really, really good. Tomb Blades. Scouts 9, the only scouts that we have in the book as well. So Scouts 9 is really, really interesting. Movement 12, so effectively for the first unit you are movement 21, which is cool. You can have Particle Bleamer, Twin Gauss Blaster, or a Twin Tesla Carbine. It's difficult to pick which ones of these is the best. Again, I don't think we're going to struggle with clearing out infantry, so I would probably put either the Particle Beamer or the Gauss Blaster on here. Yeah, the argument for the Tesla Carbine is it's an assault, so you can then use these for mission play if you need to advance them. They are also -1 to hit all the time because they've got the engrams on here. And then you can also have all the war gear options in here because they're all included in the price now. So they all have a 5+ invuln. They all have a 3-up save. So in cover, they're going to have a 2-up save if you have any kind of armor penetration. And then they also ignore cover. So this is the final way that you can get ignore cover in the army. However, that's only for their own weapons. That makes the particle beamer and the Tesla carbine quite interesting because it's stopping people have that cover save. If you are like Imperial Guard or cultists or just like anything that's spamming like Gene Stealer cult, things like that, you're going to be getting lots of hits through on those. They're not great in combat, forget about that, it's not what they're for. They are movement 12, so they're incredibly quick. Use them on your flanks, get around the back, take objectives, put pressure on the back line. Great for engage on all fronts, great for getting into your opponent's deployment zone. Very, very cool. And yeah, I think I've got 27 of these, so I will be putting some of these on the table at some point. Praetorians are rather interesting now. Movement 9, they have fly, nothing can join them. They are, I don't know why they're leadership 7+, come on. These guys protect the tomb worlds when everybody's asleep. Like, these guys are the epitome of like good leadership. I don't understand that, particularly because you can't have anybody lead them. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They do, however, reroll charge rolls, and you can charge and fall back as well. So you can fall back and charge in the same turn, which is really, really good. It's a real tough choice on which one you're going to pick on how you're going to equip them, though. I think it's going to be the rod. I think you give them the Rod of the Covenant because they still get 3 attacks, but it's just damage 2. So damage 2 is really, really useful. The extra damage. The Void Blade is quite interesting, and if you have the Void Blade, you do end up with Devastating Wound Pistol, which is quite a lot of attacks, but it hasn't got any armor penetration, but then the Devastating Wound. So this is one of those perfect examples of Games Workshop balancing the two war gear options really, really well. I'm not sure which is the way to go. I'm going to build mine. I think that it's all of them, isn't it? All models in this unit can replace, yeah, so you can't have a mixture. I would probably go with the rod. 2 wounds, toughness 5 with the 3-up saves, really interesting, and they can deep strike, which is good, so keep them in your pocket for end game if you want. Push on to objectives, but again, that leadership is just like, oh, why? Canoptech Wraith. Now this is quite an interesting one because all war gear options are now included in the price. Canoptech Wraiths can have a particle caster, a transdimensional beamer, or you can replace the whip coils, but you can have the gun. So pick a gun. Like, what gun would you like? Would you like Devastating Wounds pistol? Or would you like a transdimensional beamer that's 1 shot and doing 3 damage? Like, now you like put guns on them. I think I'll probably go with the particle caster because Devastating Wounds, that's more mortal wounds. And you do mortal wounds on your movement phase as well. So you're moving over the unit, doing mortal wounds on that unit, and then you're charging into them as well, holding them in combat. And then in their turn you'll shoot, and then in your next turn you're shooting them as well. Like, really, really cool. Nuts. The 2 different melee weapons, you can either have Vicious Claws or the coils. The coils are extra attacks but low damage. The Vicious Claws are less attacks, more damage. I'd probably just go claws. I think I've got 4 modelled with the coils because the coils used to allow you to fight on death. So I had 4 wraiths with coils, but I think you just stick with the claws here. Go for the extra damage. Strength 6. Remember, you can give these guys the +1 strength, +1 armor penetration if they're being led by someone. Nothing can join this unit, so they have to be next to that coronal. Yeah, so they're in range, but that will be strength 7 -2 armor penetration, damage 2. That's quite cool. If they're next to a Technomancer, of course, they are then hitting on a 3+. If they are next to that Sovereign Coronal, then they're hitting on a 2+, because they're effectively being led by something. So you can make these guys hit. You just have to be very, very careful. As with everything you will see in this army list, you have to be very, very careful with where you're placing things. Keep an eye on all your auras. Annihilation Barge. Oh. I'm quite excited to put this one on the table. Malevolent Arcing. In your shooting phase, each time you select a target for this model's Twin Tesla Destructor, roll a d6 for the target unit and 1d6 for every other unit within 3 inches. So you find the one unit that's right in the middle of all your enemy's lines. You shoot that unit, and then lightning goes all the way across, and they're taking d3 mortal wounds on a 5+. Interesting. I wish that was a 4+. But D3 mortal wounds, not something to be shaken a stick at, particularly as this is the sort of damage that Necrons like, because we are just constantly chipping away at the enemy, and of course our damage sticks on them, their damage doesn't stick on us, so we are just whittling them away, and then towards the end game we're just going to surround them with loads and loads of numbers. I think it's cool. Maybe a little bit expensive. It's 110 points, I think. Annihilation Barge is 115 points, so maybe it could have been doing with just dropping down below the 100-point mark. But it's very, very good. The Tesla Destructor, which is the one that's that kicks off this Malevolent Arcing, is also 36-inch range. It's got 6 shots with sustained hits too as well, and it's twin linked. So you're getting a lot of hits in on that. 6 attacks with sustained hits too. You're going to be rolling about 8 hits with that. And then at strength 8 as well, you're going to be wounding 8 times with the twin link, because you're going to be re-rolling. So if you're hitting troops, you're just going to be getting 8 wounds through. Damage 2 as well. So any save on a Marine, you're going to be losing that. If you combine this with... actually, it doesn't matter because it's AP minus AP 0, so they're not getting a cover save anyway. But if they, well, a Marine isn't. If your armor save is a 4+ and you're in cover and you're getting it to a 3+, you can combine this with one of the abilities that is taking the cover away. It gives it a little bit of armor penetration, and then you can either pick a Gauss cannon or a Tesla cannon. I'd probably take the Gauss cannon, depending on what you're kind of planning to run into. If you are running into hordes, then throw some more sustained hits on it. Yeah, very, very cool. I'm just so excited by this. I'm so excited. I have every single model in here, so I can put anything down. And then also this week as well, it's tomorrow as of recording. I think they're going to be doing all the Forge World stuff, so we're going to find out what all the Forge World, because I've got all the Forge World stuff as well, and I love centipedes. So hopefully before Saturday, when Leviathan officially launches, we'll be able to see some centipede rules. Exciting. Right, Doomsday Arc. No longer a D6 horrible roll a 1 on damage weapon anymore. It's gross. It's really, really good, and it's probably one of the best ways that we're going to get our anti-tank. It's very, very well priced as well. I think it's 185 from what I remember. Doomsday Arc is 185 points. I am on point with my points already. It moves 9. You want to move once and then stay still if you can. So you want to kind of move up into a nice firing lane where you can see lots of lines of sight, and then just stay there, because if you don't move, you get devastating wounds on the cannon. And the cannon is blast, so you're getting +1 to hit, +1 extra hit for every 5 models in the unit. So if you're shooting something that's got if you're shooting a unit of 10, you're getting D6 +3 shots. It's hitting on a 3+. Put it next to the Sovereign Coronal, you're hitting on a 2+. It's strength 15, which is just silly. So it's wounding everything on a 3. Like all the vehicles in the world, it's wounding on a 3. Pretty much every infantry is wounding on a 2. It's -4 armor penetration, so they're not getting a save, and it's damage 4. This is awesome. Really, really cool. I don't like the model. I keep trying to make a cool looking Doomsday Arc. I'm going to have another go again this edition. I kind of did one that looked sort of okay. I was trying to make the engineer, you know, the jockey, the space jockey from Alien. I was trying to make one of those where he was leaning back and he's got the gun coming out. I didn't quite get it right, so I might have another go at making some of these. I've got 3 of them anyway, so I can at least put them on the tabletop until I figure it out. But yeah, very, very good. It does drop in wounds. So when you get down to 5 wounds, it's -1 to hit, but it's already got 14 wounds. It's got a 3-up save, and it's got a 4+ invuln, and it's reanimating. Stick it next to a Technomancer, it's reanimating an extra D3 wounds. Put it next to a spider, it's getting another D3 wounds. You can still keep these things alive. They're amazing. And then the Gauze Flare array as well. So if anything gets close, it's rapid fire 5. So you're getting 10 shots. Hitting on a 3 or a 2 if you're near the lovely Corona. Strength 4, no armor penetration, which is surprising actually. Although I think the Gauze Flare has lost armor penetration anyway. So yeah, there we go. One thing to remember, it is strength 6 for tank shock. And there we go. Doomsday Arc, oh so good. Right, Locust Destroyers. So this is the first of the Destroyer units. Each time you're targeting a unit that's the closest, they're re-rolling 1, so that's where they get their hardwired for destruction from. Remember, if you put the Locust Lord in there as well, then they're re-rolling to wounds. Was it re-rolling wounds? It was re-rolling... It's if they're below... What was it? It's if you're below... Here we go. So that it's 5+ and it's a crit below half strength, and you can re-roll hits and wounds. So that's cool. Hits and wounds, and then they're getting a 5+. Here we go, 5+ critical hit on the hit. So they've got lethal hits. So if you put a Locust Lord in there, if you have a unit of 6 of these, that's 18 shots. Critting on a 5, re-rolling hits and wounds if you're targeting something that's under half strength, which, okay, you might not be, because what's under half strength that these are really want to kind of whittle down, that's sort of overkill. But if you really, really need to kill something, then they're re-rolling everything, and you're just basically looking for 5s to hit. So you roll all your hit rolls, and it's quite a good anti-tank as well. So you're re-rolling all your hit rolls. That's not a 5 or a 6. Looking for the 5s and 6s. They're automatic wounds. -2 armor penetration. Yeah, these are a really good unit for the stratagem that allows you to fire back. So if you lose a model, you can fire back. So these are a really good unit for that. Because they're toughness 6 as well, they're going to be picked off by some large guns, so they're going to be firing it back at something that's quite impactful. Very, very good. Yeah, I just want to convert some out of the new ones. So I want to get a unit of 6 of these converted out of the new Locust Destroyer, but I just need to give them a smaller gun. So I'll figure out how to convert that. But yeah, I want to get these new ones because they look awesome, and just give them a slightly smaller gun so that they represent the Locust Destroyers. However, the Heavy Destroyer, 2 different types of gun. The Enmitic Exterminator. So we're going to exterminate it enmitically. It's got 6 shots. However, it is rapid fire 6. So at 18-inch range, it gets 12 shots. It's heavy, so if you're not moving, you are hitting on a 2+ without being next to anybody or not being led by anybody. You're just hitting on a 2+. Strength 6 -1. Each time this unit makes an attack with this weapon against infantry, we're re-rolling wounds. Re-rolling wound of a 1, sorry. And then if we use the Gauze Destructor against a monster or a vehicle, we're re-rolling a wound of a 1. If this is led by a Locust Lord, we're re-rolling all wounds, all hits and wounds if we're shooting infantry which are below half strength. And also we are getting we're getting crits on a 5. So if we're using the Amnitic Exterminator, if we're using the Amnitic Exterminator within 18 inches, we're getting sustained hits 1 on a 5+, which is 1 armor penetration as well. We are getting some damage through on that. And we're re-rolling everything as well if we're picking on something that's below half strength. Like, the Locust Heavy Destroyers are such a cool unit. If you combine them with the Locust Lord and use them very, very carefully, like pick your targets, you can just get so much damage through. It's insane. Now, the Gauze Destructor, if you are shooting at a vehicle and you are re-rolling the Rune Wall of a 1, it's strength 14, so it's wounding 90% of the vehicles out there on a 3. So you're wounding on a 3, re-rolling 1. You're going to get that wound through. It's -4 armor penetration and it's 6 damage. And it's got lethal hits. So if you do roll a 6 on the if you do roll a 6 on the hit, you've automatically wounded anyway. Like it's like this is another option for anti-tank, and I think you are pretty much always taking a heavy destroyer unit. Now, whether you take the Amnitic Exterminator or the Gauze Destructor depends on the rest of your army. If your rest of your army is very good at killing tanks, so you've got lots of Doomsday Arcs, maybe a Monolith, some Doomstalkers, things like that, then you're going to take the Amnitic Exterminator and try and clear out some infantry. That would be a really, really good idea. But other than that, you'll take the Gauze Destructor and try and help clear out some of the tanks. And also it depends on your meta as well. If you're in a very, very tank heavy meta, if you're playing Imperial Guard or like every week, then you're going to take some Gauze Destructor. They're not great in combat. Don't get them in combat. That's not what they're for. But they do have. They don't have Deep Strike, but you can Deep Strike them for at the beginning of the army, at the beginning of the game. Right, reserve. That's what I meant. Canoptek Doomstalker. He's very, very tall. He's very, very War of the Worlds. I do like him. Yes, I do have 3 of them. I am insane. I've got so many of these models. He's toughness 8, 12 wounds, which is cool. He does have a 4+ invuln. He gets to fire Overwatch on a 5, which I'm still not is entirely good enough because he's only got maybe 3 shots. So he's only getting 1 shot. Like, yeah, maybe. Strength 14 -3 damage is a lot, but like you're kind of hoping that he's rolling high on the number of shots, and then hoping you get some 5s. There's not really any rerolls to hit that he's got access to. If he's near if he's near the Sovereign Corona in the shooting phase, and he's hitting on a 3+, and then if he's near a Technomancer as well, he's hitting on a 2+. So that's just in the shooting phase, not in the Overwatch. So in the shooting phase, he can do quite a bit of work. 24-inch range with the twin Gauss Flare is also quite interesting, although it's only 1 shot. Why is it only 1 shot? That's not very good. Okay, so ignore that. It is lethal hits, twin link, rapid fire 1, so it's getting 2 shots at 12 inches. You're never going to be within 12 inches of this. This is just staying at the back. 48-inch range. It's heavy as well, so it's staying still. So this can stay still. Like move, same as a Doomsday Arc. Move in your first turn. Move 7 inches, so you've got a good lanes of fire if you need to, and then you're staying still. Hopefully with either a Technomancer or a Sovereign Corona model nearby to get that +1 to hit. So you're getting +1 to hit from the heavy, +1 to hit from that character, and then you're hitting on a 2+. So some shots hitting on a 2+. It's not quite as much damage as a Doomsday Arc, but it's pretty good. Ghost Arc. Remember those Necron warriors that were reanimating everywhere? Gauze Flare Array, lethal hits, doesn't matter about this. It's toughness 9 with 14 wounds. It's got an awful lot of wounds. It has a 4+ invuln. Once per phase. So if you're near some Necron warriors, and remember how many pluses we get to this. If you're near a Necron warrior unit, in the shooting phase, you can reanimate with a Ghost Arc. In that same phase, you can then do the Stratagem from an Overlord. In the next phase, you can then do reanimation with a Ghost Arc, and then in the command phase you can then do reanimation again. And remember, when you're doing the reanimation, if you've got a reanimator nearby, you're getting an extra D3 Necron warriors back. It's just, oh, it's so much fun. It's just unending Necron warriors. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Very, very cool. This is until this edition, this is one of the models that I didn't have. I have bought one. I'm currently building it. I'm going to paint it up, and that will be on my in my army very, very soon. I just need to finish off. I don't mind the Ghost Arc in the way this looks. I just need to change the Doomsday. It's the Doomsday Arc that I don't like. Like it's got that really, really cool big gun, and it just hides it away underneath. So I do have one of these. I'm going to be getting it built up. Doom Scythe. We're nearly at the end now. Doom Scythe. It's interesting. Strength 16, D6 plus 1 and minus 4 with sustained hits D3 as well. So it's got 3 shots. If you do get a 6, you're getting a lot of hits. And then if you do get a hit, it has a special rule. So you have to the opponent has to pick whether it's going to stand firm or it's going to duck for cover. If it stands firm, I'm getting a critical hit on a 5. Remember, if I do get a critical hit, then I'm getting sustained hits D3, so I'm getting more hits. Or if it ducks for cover, then its shooting isn't going to be effective next turn. So this is a really good harassment model for picking out your enemy's best shooting unit and forcing them to, okay, so do you want to maybe die, or do you want to be slightly less good at shooting next turn? So it is quite cool. Flyers are an interesting one. It is quite expensive. It's 225 points. For that kind of weapon stat line, you could get the Doomstalker or a Doomsday Arc for less money. Less points. Yeah, I do like. I mean, I like the model. I've got one of them. Obviously, so I have written it into one of the lists. I'm definitely going to play it and try it around. The Twin Tesla Destructor is really interesting because it's damage 2 and it's got sustained hits 2, so it's getting a lot of hits in as well. Imagine that if you're shooting at. Oh, does that work? Yes, it is. So each time. So if you target an enemy unit with the Death Ray, and they do stand firm, then you're scoring crits with the Tesla Destructor as well. So they're getting you're getting 6 shots there with 2 extra hits if you roll a 6, because it doesn't say attacks with the Death Ray. It just says once you target a unit with a Death Ray, that unit then suffers crits on a 5+. So that's quite cool. And then the Night Side, the other flyer. You can, with this one, you can basically redeploy. So at the end of the fight phase, if there are no models currently embarked on the transport, and there's a Necron infantry unit wholly within 6, you can pick it up, and you can put it in this Night Scythe. So you can get out after it's moved next turn, but you can't charge, so it's probably not going to be Leash Guard. It would most likely to be Necron warriors, so if you want to redeploy like a big unit of Necron warriors somewhere, but if you want to do that, like a Veil of Darkness is probably better. I mean, this one is as long as it's not in engagement range, so it's the same rule as the Veil of Darkness. So the Veil of Darkness is a cheaper way of getting this. The Tesla Destructor doesn't really do much. I think this is a bit of a miss. I probably won't be taking one, so I think my Night Side will just be staying on the shelf again. Unfortunately, if you've got any funky ways of doing this, then please let me know. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be anything interesting you can do, because you can get out of the transport next turn at the end when he's moved, but not charged. So it's just for redeploying Necron warriors, and I don't think you really want to pay that much just to redeploy. Now the Obelisk is quite interesting. It's always been a bit meh, really, but it's quite interesting at the moment. It's 22 wounds at toughness 4, 2 up save, It hasn't got an invulnerable save, but with a 2-up save, it's going to be getting cover. It's quite easy to get cover because it's massive, so it's always getting cover. So, yeah, he's effectively got some sort of an invuln save. The Tesla Sphere, anti-fly 4+, sustained hits 2, and it's got 4 of these, so it's got 24. I think it's got 4 of these. Yeah, 4. So it's got 24 shots with sustained hits 2, so any 6s are 2 additional hits. And anti-fly 4+ as well, so even at strength 7 it's wounding flyers on a 4+, which is cool. However, the gravitic pulse is rather interesting. So at the start of your opponent's movement phase, you can select one enemy unit within 18, and until the end of the phase subtract 2 from the move and 2 from the advance and charge. So that's just flat out, just pick a unit and it does that. However, if you picked a fly unit, every single time it moves, so move, advance, charge, pile in, consolidate, every single time it makes a move, any type of move on a 4+, it takes D3 mortal wounds. So, Death Company, like Death Company with jump packs, Sanguinary Guard, Reaver jet bikes, Shining Spears, Farseers. Like, imagine a Farseer on a jet bike. Like, every time you move, sorry, what? You're moving, take D3 mortal wounds, take another D3 mortal wounds, take another D3, okay, you're dead. Like, it makes it interesting. It has a role, it has a purpose. Absolutely brilliant. I love it when they've been able to put purposes and roles and interesting things on all these data cards. Now, points. Obelisk. 325. That's not bad. That's not bad because you can. Oh no, it's just a Tesla Spear. Sorry, I thought it had. I thought you could swap. Okay, I thought it's just a monolith that can swap it out. I thought it could have some bigger guns as well. So yeah, it's quite interesting. 24 shots at sustained hits 2 at strength 7. Like, you are always going to be shooting at something with the fly keyword so you can get the wounds off. It's quite interesting. Like, imagine this on a shooting at a Venom or a Raider or a Void Weaver. Or like any fly transport. It's just like, here, make a billion saves. Oh, and then by the way, if you move, you're taking mortal wounds. It's quite interesting. So yeah, yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's cool. Objective control 8 as well. So just stick it on an objective in the backfield. Yeah, 18 inches is. Yeah, it's going to be good. Has it got deep strike? Yes, it does have deep strike. So you can bring it down in turn 2 if you want to, just like right in the middle of the board. Although, if I probably wouldn't deep strike it because you're just going to get zoned out. So I would bring it. Does it have fly itself? It does. So I would bring it on the. I'd deploy it. And then I would move it 7, try to get it somewhere really, really awkward. And then just within 18 inches of everything that... it's just like a big 18-inch bubble of anything with fly, don't come anywhere near this bit. Right, nearly there. Tesseract Vault. Objective control 8 as well. It's not quite as tough as the Obelisk, but it's got 24 wounds. Deadly Demise D6 plus 3, so if it blows up, it's blowing up. And then in the powers... Powers of Catan, in the shooting phase, when this model is selected to shoot, select one of the Catan powers. Until the end of the phase, this model is equipped with that weapon in addition to the other weapons. So you only get one Catan power, but you also get the Tesla Spheres as well, which is the 24 shot strength 7 with sustained hits. So one of these Catan powers. Antimatter Meteor, which is D6 plus 3, it's strength 10, minus 3 armor penetration, 3 damage. It's got devastating wounds. It's got indirect fire at 24 inches. Ballistic skill 3+. Now, indirect fire is -1 to hit. If you have a Technomancer nearby it, you are back to being like regular because that's +1 to hit. If you then have the Sovereign Corona, you are then an extra +1 to hit, so you're hitting on a 2+. So D6 plus 3 shots, hitting on a 2+, strength 10, -3, 3 damage, devastating wounds as well, and it's blast. So if you're shooting at a unit of 10, it's D6 plus 5 wounds, damage 3. That's killing Blade Guard. That's horrid. That's quite cool. Cosmic Fire also ignores cover. Sorry, this one ignores cover. Devastating Wounds. It's a torrent weapon, so you don't have to roll to hit. 18 inches, 3d6 shots, which is a lot. It's not blast, so you don't get any extra on this one, but it's strength 6, -2, and 1 damage, so just clearing out hordes. Really, really good. And then anti-character precision devastating wounds. It's only 1 shot, but my god, you better make that save. Hitting on a 2+, and then anti-character 4+. So it's 2+, 4+, 6 damage on a character. Yeah. 24 inches. That's awesome. I don't know whether it's... Where is it? I don't know whether it's 425 points of awesome, but it's pretty cool. Hits on a 2+, within 24 inches, 4+, 6 mortal wounds on a character. And then we've got two left. We've got the Monolith. It's 20 wounds, toughness 14. Now we have, this is the one where you can pick. So you have the Death Ray or the Gauze Flux Arc. Yes. So you either have 4 shots, because it's got 4 of them. You either have 4 shots with sustained hits at strength 12, d6 plus 1 damage at -4 armor penetration, which is obscene. -5 armor penetration if you pop that stratagem, if you are near the Sovereign Corona, and then you can use that at full range. d6 plus 1 damage is just, yep, that's a lot of damage going through 4 shots. And it sustained hits d3 as well. So if you roll 2 6s in there, that's a lot of hits. Gauze Flux Arc, lethal hits. You're getting 3 shots with this one. Rapid Fire 3, so at 12 inches you're getting 6 shots. Strength 6 -1 damage. That's fine. And then the Particle Whip, which is the big ball in the middle. So it's 3d6 shots. Strength 8 -1 2 damage. And it's got Devastating Wounds and Blast. So if you're shooting at a unit of 10, it's 3d6 plus 2 shots. Yeah, and Devastating Wounds. So that's just taking out Marine units like nobody's business. The Particle Whip you always get, and I would probably pick the Death Ray as well, because that makes it just gross, makes it properly evil. Portal of Exile is if you get into combat. So this is the old thing that used to suck enemies into it and just dispatch them onto the tomb world and kill them. So 6 shots, weapon skill 2, strength 8, -2 and 3 damage. So it does hit in combat as well. So you don't really want to get near this. This is just going to be a massive, big, lumbering monolith in the centre of the battlefield. In the reinforcement step of your movement phase, however, you can select 1 Necron unit from your army that is either in reserve or on the battlefield and remove it. It is then set up anywhere on the battlefield as wholly within 6 and not within engagement range of any enemy models. So if you've got a big unit of Necron warriors which is on the wrong side of the table, or it needs to be on the other side of the table, you can basically just zap it through the Eternity Gate on the Monolith, which is really, really cool. And then obviously if that unit has Overlords or Cryptex or Cryptothralls in there, then they go with them as well. So you can suddenly move this massive unit of 20 Necron warriors across the battlefield to put pressure in somewhere else towards the end game. I probably wouldn't do it at the beginning of the game unless you've got a couple of different units. But yeah, very, very cool. Here we go. Final one with a Silent King. Right, I'm going to get this one straight out of the way first. He's 470 points. He's the most expensive data card in here. Is he worth 470 points? Let's find out. So, Zandreck, the Silent King, he's toughness 10. He's got 16 wounds. He also has 2 Menhirs, which are toughness 10 with 5 wounds. So he's effectively got 26 wounds. You've got to kill the Menhirs first. If you kill the Menhirs, and he is standing next to a Reanimator, and you roll 2 6s for reanimation, you can bring a Menhir back. Because you are regenerating 6 wounds if you roll 2 6s, or if you roll a 6 and a 4, then you're regenerating 5 wounds. So does work. So you can bring the Minears back. So he is very tough, very difficult to kill. He's got 4-up save. And then at the start of once per turn, at the end of your command phase, you can select a friendly battle shot Necron unit within 12 inches, and then he's just like, no, you're not battle shocked. So that's at the end of your command phase. So once you've done all the battle shock, and if one unit has been battle shocked and you really want it to hold an objective, or you need to cast a stratagem on them, you can go, no, he's okay. And then, right, so yes, the Annihilator Beams, which are on the Minears, so you get 2 of these, so you get 2 shots. Strength 14, -4, 6 damage. So this is another great way of getting anti-tank in here. And then the Scepter of Eternal Glory, as my friend Mikey from Tabletop Tactics would say. This is 2 shot, strength 10, -3 and 3 damage with devastating wounds. Again, this is solid anti-tank, anti-armor if you need it. Devastating wounds as well. Indirect 5 with the Staff of Stars, which is quite interesting. It's got 12 shots as well. Hitting on a 2, strength 6, -1 damage. And then the melee weapons have all been combined together. So the Size of Dust is lethal hits, 12 attacks, strength 8, -3, 2 damage. That's fine. So at the start of the battle round, select one Triarch ability. So this is going to apply in your turn and your opponent's turn. While a friendly Necron unit is within 6 inches of this model, each time a model in that unit makes a range attack, you can reroll one, reroll a hit roll and a wound roll of 1. Wound roll of 1. There we go. So that's not bad. That's pretty cool. Within 6 inches, so you can probably get three or 4 units within that. Remember, it's a friendly Necron unit, so it could be a monolith, could be a Doomsday Arc. The Doomsday Arcs and the monolith, if you're next to the Sovereign Corona, are hitting on a 2 anyway, so hitting on a 2, re-rolling 1, so that's pretty cool. Doomsday Arc is wounding everything on a 3, so if you're wounding on a 3, re-rolling 1, you're going to get the wound through as well. So that's pretty cool. Pharaon of Blades, so this is the same thing, but anything within 6 inches you can now reroll charges. So when you have to do that go turn and you have to charge in, you can get your charges off. Then the final one, when the friendly Necron unit is within 6 inches, you get to ignore any or all modifiers to the characteristics of the model in that unit, and to any roll or test made, excluding modifiers to saving throws. So it doesn't ignore armor penetration. However, it does ignore things like -1 to your leadership, or -1 to your ballistic skill, like -1 to hit, things like that. So that's quite cool. That's a very nuanced ability, but it's very, very good to have in there. So he is cool. You can definitely write an army around him. And you can go a couple of different directions. You can either have like a big castle in the middle with lots of shooting, so you can have him with 2 Doomsday Arcs and 40 Necron warriors on either side of him, and just kind of walk up with the 2 Doomsday Arcs and 40 warrior shots that are re-rolling everything, hitting on 2s, re-rolling everything. So that's quite cool. I don't know whether he's 470 points worth. I think he probably is. This is one model which I haven't got built and painted because I used Cesarek himself to convert my Pharaon, my own Pharaon for my dynasty. So I need to get another Silent King model so that I can build this model up. So I will be doing that at some point. And then finally, Convergence of Divinity. I've not even read this one. So I think it's something to do with a re-rolling reanimation. While a friendly Necron unit is within 6 inches, you can re-roll the dice to determine how many wounds. So if you roll a dice and you're only bringing 1 model back, you can re-roll it. But it's only within 6. So it's not great. And if it always gives cover, so you get cover behind it. And the unit can be selected as the target of the range attacks. -1 to hit, okay. While an enemy unit is only within engagement range of 1... While an enemy unit is only within engagement range of 1 or more fortifications, that unit can still be selected as a target of the range attacks. Models in that unit do not need to take... Wait, what? While an enemy unit is only within engagement range of So if this gets charged, that unit. Oh right, yeah. So you can shoot a unit that charges it. Models in that unit do not need to take desperate due to falling back while battle shocked, except. Oh right, okay. So yeah, that's fine. Has it just got one of those? Oh no, it's got 3. So it's got 9 shots, hitting on a 4, strength 6, -2, 3 damage. Meh. I don't think you'd ever take that. I have I have 2 of them because they're cool terrain. Right, there we go. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to leave that one there. There's some really, really cool things that we can talk about on this in the next video, which is going to be how I'm kind of basing and writing my armies about this. So please hang out for that one. It will be on my channel. Probably when you're watching this, it'll probably be on the channel already. But if you're watching this on the day of release, it'll be on the channel tomorrow. Yeah, keep an eye out for that. I hope you enjoyed the walkthrough. It's an incredible index. There's a lot in there, yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Please drop me a like and a subscribe. Share this with your friends if you think they might enjoy this kind of content. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter. Let me know what kind of battle reports and army lists you've written. Tag me on that. That's at Chris Frossin. And you can find me on Twitch pretty much most days of the week. It's twitch.tv/Chris Frossin. Come and tell me what army lists you are writing for your Necrons. And let's do it for the Silent King, shall we? Thank you very much, everybody. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you on the table. I'm going to do some. I've got some tournaments booked in already. I'm excited. We're going to get these back on the table. Thanks very much, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.